And we are back, week number 3 of college football here in 2025. We've got some big games this week. I think a way better schedule than we got last week in terms of just big time games. I mean, obviously, the big one this week, Georgia, Tennessee. Cannot wait. Notre Dame hosts Texas A&M. It's their first game since losing in Miami to the Miami Hurricanes. And also, Miami, South Florida, all of a sudden, becomes potentially one of the biggest games of the year in week number 3. If USF wins this week, guys, they're a top 5 team in the country. Well, Miami is already a top 5 team in the country, but if they beat USF, is this the best team in college football? Guys, it's a loaded week number 3 slate. And before we get into the video, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It's all I ask you guys to do for these videos. I know they're very long, but all I ask you to do, hit that subscribe button down below and leave a like for weekly college football predictions. Just helps out the channel quite a bit if you do so. Make sure to join us later in the week for our NFL predictions tomorrow night. And also, go make sure to join us later this week for our college football best bets here on the channel as well. As we move on to the first, and also Greedo Plays MMA, daily MLB best bets on this channel, and then Greedo Plays MMA UFC note shape predictions this week with Diego Lopez and John Silva in the main event on Mexican Independence Day. Okay, on to the first of our many games, and I read some comments. I'm listening. We're into individual graphics now, so it's not 30 games at a time, okay? So hopefully you guys like this. If not, I can go right back to the old format. So let me know what format you like better. New format, old format. Let's go. First game, Thursday night. Who needs the Commanders and Packers when you have NC State versus Wake Forest? I mean, this is why we play the games, right? This is why I watch college football. It's for games like this. NC State on the road in Winston-Salem, North Carolina to take on the Demon Deacons. Yeah, give me NC State. Guys, both these teams are very mid-ACC squads is what I'll say. Okay, I know NC State is 1-0 in the conference. Oh, no, the Virginia game was a non-con game, which is weird. They played a non-conference game against conference foe Virginia, so technically NC State's still 0-0 in the ACC, but they beat Virginia by 4 points. They win it 35-31. Game is in Raleigh, and NC State comes out with the victory. CJ Bailey goes 16 for 23 passing for 200 yards, but it's Hollywood Smothers, their running back, that really takes the game over for them. 2 touchdowns and 140 yards on the ground. For the Demon Deacons, a team that, looked really bad in week 1 against Kennesaw State, and maybe you're thinking, oh, Kennesaw's not that bad. Maybe they just got guys this year. No. They go to Bloomington last week, and they get destroyed. So it's not like the Old Dominion effect, and I'll talk about ODU some point during today's video. Robbie Ashford, obviously the starting quarterback now. Or still, obviously, transferred in the offseason. He's been doing okay. I'm not blown away by the Demon Deacons. They blow out West Carolina last week, 42-10. Again, that's an FCS school. Ashford plays a good game. They got a really big night out of their starting running back, Damon Claiborne, who ran for 193 yards after only getting 3 carries for 19 yards against Kennesaw State. The Demon Deacons, though, I'm not gonna hype this team up at all. I have not been high on a Demon Deacons team since Sam Hartman was their starting quarterback. I want to believe in Wake Forest, but can I ever? No, okay? If you beat Kennesaw State by 1 point, that's the last FBS team you faced, was the Kennesaw State Owls. And you beat, again, one of the worst FBS schools in the country by 1 point and almost lost that game, really almost lost the game and was losing at one point in time. How are you going to beat North Carolina State, who I get it, is an underwhelming team, and they're underwhelming every single year. Horrible clock management. Usually that's just a pillar of North Carolina State football. They scored a bunch in the third quarter to eventually take the lead and win the game. There was no scoring in the fourth quarter of that game against Virginia. But can I really take Virginia seriously as a good team? I thought I could. I like Chandler Morris. Again, this is just low-level ACC football. I personally believe North Carolina State is the better team, and I think CJ Bailey is going to have quite a big game. I worry about Wake Forest's offense against an ACC-level defense. Is NC State a good defense? No. But you scored 10 points against Kennesaw State. So I don't care how mid potentially the NC State defense can be. If that's what you're doing against Kennesaw State, I cannot trust you to win a football game. NC State's a 7.5-point favorite on the road. Would I play it personally? I would not, okay? I don't know what the Commanders-Packers spread is on Thursday. I'd much rather go Commanders spread on the road than do this. Regardless, though, if you need a play, obviously, we're going -7.5 for the North Carolina State Wolfpack. I believe they win their in-state rivalry game with Wake Forest. Of course, there's a bunch of ACC schools in North Carolina, but I think NC State gets it done on the road in Winston-Salem. They will cover the 7.5 points on the road at Wake for their first official ACC game. Okay, on to our next game. We go to Friday Night Football. Starting at 4:30, we're skipping Indiana State versus Indiana. Trust me, the Hoosiers are going to continue to beat up on their Mickey Mouse schedule. Thank you, Kurt Signetti. Thank you. Sycamore's going to eat shit this week. And then Colgate plays Syracuse. Maybe Syracuse will do liners again after winning the football game. I don't know. Because they will beat Colgate. Anyways, Colorado takes on Houston. I'm taking Colorado. I'm going with Colorado on the road here. I don't know what Colorado's quarterback situation is going to look like. I assume, okay, one can assume it's still going to be Caden Salter, right? You would think. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't think they're going to go Ryan Staub. I think that would be weird if they did, but I don't know. Maybe they do. Guys, Ryan Staub goes into that game last week against Delaware at 10-7, and Staub comes in and changes the trajectory of that football game, right? He comes into the second quarter, throws a touchdown pass immediately to Taylor, and he plays the rest of the game. I don't know. I mean, as Dion said, Martin Luther Staub is a pretty decent quarterback. I mean, he's always been around, obviously. He was here when Shedeur was here. He's a sophomore now. He redshirted Shedur's first year at Colorado, and then obviously was one of the backups last season. I don't know if he's the guy over Juju and Caden Salter. Juju, got 4 passing attempts last week against the Delaware Blue Hens. But Colorado's offense was pretty mid until Staub came in. But honestly, this is what Colorado needs. I don't know if Staub is exactly what they need. They just need some momentum any way possible, okay? They were struggling a little bit against Delaware. Delaware, they weren't scoring entirely, but Delaware was moving the ball on Colorado. Ryan Staub comes in and changes the course of that game. So again, I don't know if he's going to start. I don't care who starts, okay? I'm still taking Colorado, okay? Houston's a team for me. They're 2-0 this season. They haven't lost a game. That's great. They beat Stephen F. Austin, and they beat Rice. Connor Weigman, not a horrible quarterback at all. He's done his job so far this season. You get Dean Connors in the backfield. They have a really good tight end as well. I think Colorado's able to go on the road and beat Houston. Guys, it's a Big 12 game. Houston was not a very good team last year. Not entirely holdover, but I mean, what Houston struggled to do last year, and they struggled mightily in doing so, they couldn't score once they got to Big 12 play. They played Cincinnati, they scored 0 points. They played Iowa State, they scored 0 points. They scored Arizona, they scored 3 points. They scored Kansas, they scored 14 points. Baylor, 10 points. And I know it's college football, it's different. You get different teams from year to year. The holdback from year to year is not that high. Still though, same program, same guys in the team. I know different quarterback, obviously. I think they're going to struggle in Big 12 play against other Big 12 schools. I get it. Colorado, didn't look great against Delaware until Staub came in. And then week 1, they lost to Georgia Tech. But it was a very competitive game with Georgia Tech, right? I mean, if Haynes King doesn't run that touchdown in, with a minute to go, Georgia Tech wins the game by 3 points. Colorado covers week 1. And I guess, some of the talking points is different about Colorado, right? You lose your week 1 game to Georgia Tech. Okay, you were a dog in that game. You cover the spread. I know that doesn't matter for the football team itself, but you're thinking, okay, we've got some confidence. We only lost by 3 points. Instead, right, Haynes King runs in the touchdown. Colorado gets that final drive. Horrible clock management. And now that's the story coming out of that loss to Georgia Tech. It's, we lost by 7, but okay as well. We couldn't manage the clock at all, And we looked horrible in our last attempt to try to win the football game or try to tie the football game. What I'm telling you is they needed something like Ryan Staub coming in there and winning them the game against Delaware. And again, it wasn't one drive. It was Staub played 3 quarters, 2.5 quarters, and put them in the best position to win the football game, and he did exactly that. They scored 21 points with Ryan Staub at quarterback. Will he start on the road? I don't know. And obviously, it's a much different environment going on the road to Houston than it is playing at Boulder. I'm still going to go with Colorado. I know their defense isn't the cream of the crop. I think it's good enough. I really think the Houston offense, they've looked good so far, don't get me wrong. It's been the run game that's really killed teams, and really it's been field positioning. That's really won Houston's game so far. Like, again, Weigman's done his job. He hasn't been the reason that they've won, though. He's got 340 yards in 2 games. It's been field positioning that has been the run game so far. But if you're not able to turn the field against Colorado, you're not able to get stops in, plus territory, it just changes the game. And I think Colorado's going to find success offensively. I think Colorado is going to win. The better play, I believe, is the spread because, again, we are allowed a 3-point allowance, essentially, right? Houston can win by a field goal and we still get the dub. That's where I'm going in this spot. Plus 3.5 for the Colorado Buffaloes. I actually like this spot a lot for them. I do believe this is the momentum they needed. This is what Dion needed. This is what the team needed. We will see if it's Staub, if it's Salter. I can almost guarantee you it will not be Juju Lewis as a true freshman. But I like the Colorado Buffaloes on the road at Houston to go and pick up the victory and as well cover the 3.5 points. Again, that is the much better bet out the equation. Let's go on now to our next game, staying here on Friday. Another Big 12 matchup, of course, as we officially get Big 12 play underway. The Arizona Wildcats host the Kansas State Wildcats. Yeah, Wildcats versus Wildcats, right? Technically, right, this is not the open to Big 12 play, right? Because we got that in week 0 in Dublin, Ireland between Iowa State and K-State. And boy, have those two teams gone in different directions, right? Iowa State last week cashes for us in their game in Iowa, or their Battle of Iowa is what I'm going for against the Hawkeyes in the Cyhawk game. They win it, so good on Iowa State for getting that one done for us. And K-State, man, 1-2 football team, but a too close for comfort game against North Dakota where they needed to pull out every trick in the book to beat the North Dakota Fighting Hawks, Fighting Eagles, whatever they are, Hawks, Eagles, Tracy Eagle Staff School, thank you. And last week they lose to Army. Now, I thought Army was going to cover. I didn't think Army was going to win. Oh, they did. They did. Army now, without Bryson Daly, he's graduated, goes in there and still beats the K-State Wildcats. What? You know, I mean, hey, Noah Short's a dog. What do I say? You know, Noah Short's a pretty good football player. Kings Academy High School in San Jose, California. Very good football player. Okay, he went 1-for-1 passing for 52 yards against K-State. Kansas State looks horrible right now. They look like a dysfunctional mess. They could not move the ball against Army for most parts of that game, even though they still took a lead going into the fourth quarter. And what did Army do? Yeah, they scored in back-to-back drives. Or no, I think there was a drive in between, but still they scored twice in the fourth quarter to win the game 24-21. K-State couldn't move the ball offensively. Guys, K-State scored 21 points. Well, 7 of those points is a kickoff return. So their offense only scored, essentially, their offense scored once. They had 2 field goals, then they had they scored the kickoff return, and they got the 2-point conversion with that. They're not a very good football team. Avery Johnson, I still think, is a very good quarterback. He's not in the right situation, okay? You lose Giddens, obviously, to the NFL, and now you're struggling with your running back room of right now, the healthy guys, Joe Jackson and Devon Rice, who Joe Jackson against Army had 7 carries for 30 yards, and Devon Rice had 6 carries for 28 yards. Right now, it's just not a good football team. I look at the Arizona Wildcats. I don't know why Arizona is even with Kansas State here. K-State's on the road. If this game was in Kansas, okay, I would say, yeah, K-State's probably favored. I'd probably still go Arizona. The reason why I think it's this close is because Arizona's not tested yet. And Arizona, on paper, the season was not supposed to be very good. Obviously, the biggest talking point out of the Wildcats in 2020, going into 2025, was the loss of Teteroa McMillan, obviously playing on Sundays now for the Carolina Panthers. And this was a Wildcats team last year, Arizona Wildcats team last year that, let's just call it out, has struggled. Even with Tet McMillan, the best receiver in college football last year. Actually, that was Nick Nash. But, one of the best, hyped up, or the best prospects out of college football last year at the receiver position. They went 4-8. Now, a lot of that had to do with Noah Fifita. I'll be honest, Fifita had a horrible 2024. So far in 2025, he's been good. And I think it's a better start. Because if you remember last year, right, they played New Mexico in a shootout, and they played North Arizona. And everyone looked good in the New Mexico game. Hell, that's the game where I became officially sold on Devin Dampier last season. And look at the Utah Utes go. Huge victory over Cal Poly. Let's go, man. The Utes are legit. Keep saying it. We'll see them later in the video. But Noah Fifita, right, has a horrible game week 2 against Northern Arizona. The Wildcats win the game by 12 points over there in Tucson. This year, so far, so good. There hasn't been a North Arizona type game yet for Fifita, right? It's been 2 solid football games. Sure, the opponents have been Hawaii and Weber State. Sure. But last week, 370 yards against Weber. We'll take that. I know it's an FCS school, but you're going to take that. Going into Big 12 play, that's what you need. And if there's ever a time to run into Kansas State, it's right now. They can't score. Avery Johnson's capable. The offense around him is not. I know Arizona State can score. The K-State defense, that's not wowing anybody. Guys, North Dakota put up 31 points, 35 points on Kansas State. Why won't Arizona be able to do the same exact thing? Oh, they will. Fifita's going to find a way. Guys, Noah Fifita it's his third year as a starting quarterback in college football. Like, he's only going to continue to figure it out. I don't know if there is a move for Fifita outside of Arizona just because, he's a 5'10 quarterback playing at U of A. I don't know if there's any, level up from there in terms of the portal. He's the guy at Arizona. He had a tremendous freshman season. Took a very big step back, I'll say it, in 2024. I believe 2025 is going to be much kinder to Noah Fifita, and I think Arizona is going to go to 1-0 in Big 12 play because I believe they're going to beat Kansas State. The K-State Wildcats are just horrible, and they got to go on the road to Tucson. I love this line. I absolutely love it. Minus 110 for Arizona. Yeah, this is a no-brainer for me. Give me the Arizona Wildcats. We're going with U of A. On to our next game. We move to, I guess, the Big Ten. Here come these clowns from Los Angeles. Yep, that's what they are. The UCLA Bruins take on the New Mexico Lobos. Clowns, man. Clowns. I will give them credit here. They played a really good second half in Las Vegas. They did. Played a really good second half. I thought they might come back. Hell, Nico got him in a drive at the end of the game. They were down 17 points at one point with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They get it down to 7. Big drive for Nico at the end of the game. They somehow get the football back with 1:30 to go. Amaliva gets him down to about the 30-ish. Throws an interception 2 yards away from the end zone. Game over. Okay. It is what it is. You can't, if you're UCLA, and this is what I said last week, you can't lose to UNLV. I don't care how bad you looked against Utah. Utah's an elite program in the country. Utah's going to win the Big 12, and they should be favored now to win the Big 12 because of ASU's loss last week at Mississippi State, which was a very bad loss, but whatever. We'll get into the Sun Devils. I think, they're playing one of the last games of the week. We'll talk about them at the very end of the video. Utah's a good team. UNLV is not a team that should beat UCLA. I know they were great last year. The Hodge Malik Williams core. They lost the Mountain West title last year to Boise State. They're not that same team. They actually got worse. And now they're beating UCLA. Maybe I'll be proven wrong if they continue to play well as they go into Mountain West play. Trust me, guys, UNLV is not going to be a top 3 team in the Mountain West. I don't think so. Maybe they will, but I legitimately think Boise's better still. I think San Jose is probably still better. And I think Fresno can probably beat UNLV as well. I know it might be a hot take. Fresno wins games, guys. I know Oregon State played legitimately the worst game of all time last week. But I don't know. I don't think UNLV's top 3 right now in the Mountain West. And with all that being said, UCLA lost to them. Clowns, dude. Nico, I'm not a Tennessee fan, by the way. I just love the jersey, okay? Big Morgan Wallen guy. All right? You sold your opportunity to play at Tennessee, who, by the way, is looking just fine, and they have a big matchup with Georgia this week. And here you are on an 0-2 football team hosting the New Mexico Lobos. And you know what? I'm taking New Mexico to cover 14.5 points. Guys, New Mexico scores. We thought this team got obliterated at the portal, or with the portal, and they did. They lost everybody. But Jack Lane? All right, he moves the football. Say that. If I can say anything about Jack Lane, he moves the ball. Okay? Kind of. He's a game manager is what I'm getting at here. All right? This is a guy who started at the University of Idaho for the Vandals or I think just his sophomore year last year. He'll move the ball. He's a game manager, right? He's like a lesser version of E.J. Warner, which actually, I don't know if you want to hear that out of your quarterback, but New Mexico will find ways to move the ball. Humphrey, their running back, has been solid this season, and I can't trust UCLA to win a football game, let alone cover 14.5 points. Guys, I'd be shocked if they win by 14. I don't know if I'd be shocked, but I'd be like, all right, really? Damn. They got to win by more than 2 touchdowns? Oh, hell no. Hell no. Do they have the talent? Sure. Their defense is horrible. They can't tackle. Their linebacker core, horrible. Secondary, not very good. And it doesn't help when your quarterback can't dig you out of the spot because you bring Nico here to dig you out of those holes, to get you back into football games. And he hasn't done that just yet as a member of the UCLA Bruins. They're playing New Mexico, and we will probably, the crazy part is, we might give them at plus money next week at Northwestern and 2 weeks at Northwestern. Which it would shock me if they went on the road to Evanston and lost, but maybe they would. I don't know. UCLA sucks. They're not covering 14.5 points. Would I bet it? No. This would be the 3rd game I bet on Friday. And yes, there are 3 games on Friday. So don't bet on this. The Big 12 games are a lot better to bet on. But if you had to press me on a pick, obviously, I am going to go with the UCLA Bruins to not cover 14.5. Give me the Lobos and Jack Lane to walk into UCLA. Again, obviously, Dan Pierre's gone. Donovan Denton, star basketball player, goes to UCLA. They lost everybody at New Mexico. I'm still going with them to cover against these lowly UCLA Bruins who are in competent. They suck. Next up. Moving on to Saturday. Oh, man. Possibly the best team in college football right now. I don't know. It's either Miami or Oregon for me. I don't think it's Ohio State. I think Ohio State's really good. I don't think they're number one. I think Oregon's really good. Obviously, you saw that last week and I know an injured Oklahoma State team, but a good a Power 4 Oklahoma State team. And then obviously, right, Miami continues to win games. They beat Bethune-Cookman. Not surprised. If they beat South Florida this week, yes, I'm going to crown them the number one team in the country. Penn State's a really good football program too, but they haven't played anybody yet. So we'll see. All right, a win over FIU doesn't move me. Anyways, obviously like it shouldn't, but still, Oregon Northwestern. It's the first Big Ten game of the year for the Oregon Ducks. I wonder what's going to happen in Evanston, Illinois. I wonder. Guys, Oregon's first game, they win 59-13 against one of the best FCS schools in Montana State. They then go beat Oklahoma State 69-3. That's not Eastern Oklahoma Southern, Eastern Oklahoma Tech. This isn't, a random D2 school out there. No, this is the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. They beat them 69-3. I get it. Oklahoma State's on a backup quarterback. I understand, but my goodness. Domination. Yeah, this might be the best team in college football. It might be. I don't know. They're really good. We'll see. Dante Moore does everything they need him to do. For a team that was, I think at the top of the discussion the biggest discussion that Oregon had in the offseason at least was, are they going to go in the portal? Are they going to find a senior quarterback like they did with Dylan Gabriel? Are they going to try to lure Quinn Ewers back to college football before he had, said he's going to be a 7th round draft pick in the NFL? Well, no, they go with Dante Moore, and Dante Moore has been pretty good so far. You can't say he's unproven. They played Oklahoma State, and they scored 69 points against Oklahoma State. And they didn't even score in the fourth quarter. This is going to be bad for Northwestern, guys. It's going to be really bad for them. How are they going to score? Guys, Oregon's going to win this game by 40-something points. That's why I am astonished. Is that a word? I am in awe that the odds are it's a 27.5 point spread. Oregon just has to win by 4 touchdowns. Oh, they're on the road. Oh, no. Are we serious here? This is horrible. Preston Stone, the former Southern Methodist quarterback, played a good game last week against the West Illinois Leathernecks. They played West Illinois well. Right on. Right on. Yeah, I should be concerned about this. Guys, this is actually a very easy play here. 27.5 points is a lot of points. Oregon's not going on the road and not blowing out Northwestern. How is Northwestern going to move the football? They couldn't score on Tulane. You expect them to score on the Oregon Ducks? And I'm not going after Preston Stone, but there's a reason he lost his job at Southern Methodist to Kevin Jennings. Kevin Jennings is a great quarterback, by the way, just unfortunate last week against the Baylor Bears. I still think SMU is really good. I still think they're the second best team in the ACC. Yes, they're better than Clemson. I'll get to Clemson in just a few moments here. I think Oregon dominates Northwestern. You should not be wowed by the Wildcats. They are, again, bottom of the barrel Big Ten. It's Northwestern. It's UCLA. It's Purdue, right? These are the crap schools in the Big Ten. You know what Oregon is? One of the best schools in the country. All right, Dante Moore is going to have his way. Noah Whittington is playing like one of the best receivers in college football right now. They get the ball to Mekhi Hughes quite a bit. Sorry, Noah Whittington is playing like one of the best running backs, in college football in terms of just he gets the ball 4 times and he takes it for 80 yards. It's just, what are we doing? Right? I mean, they are a loaded team from head to toe. It's a good team. Mekhi Hughes, right? Decent running back for this team. Backup spot, obviously, but Noah Whittington is their guy. And just the explosiveness in the pass game. I mean, again, everyone touches the ball. Everyone gets stuff going downfield. Give me the Oregon Ducks to dominate the Northwestern Wildcats. It's an easy play. It's one of the easiest ones you can pick this week. Minus 27.5. This line's going to close at 33-ish, I think. I legitimately think the line's going to get bumped that much. I don't care. I'd still take Oregon. I'd take Oregon up to 34.5 this week. Yeah, I would. Now, again, if 27.5 is available, take it. But I believe, right, it's complete domination this week out of the Oregon Ducks. They will go on the road and completely put belt to ass against the Northwestern Wildcats. Okay, on now to our next game, and here they are, the Clemson Tigers. Oh boy, Oh boy. What a game these guys played last week, eh? Almost losing at home to the Troy Trojans? Are we dead ass? Huh? I know they came back. Guys, Clemson can't run the football. They have no threat of a run game. How are you going to be successful in the ACC if you can't run the ball? They escaped the Troy game by the skin of their teeth. They win it 27-16. They can't really run the ball, okay? Adam Randall's good, but I mean, that's not a consistent guy you can continuously go to. We saw that in the LSU game. That's not going to continue. Like, they couldn't run the ball in the LSU game. Yeah, they run against Troy. Well, it's Troy. You're playing a Sun Belt school. Obviously, you're going to win that game. Cade Klubnik, guys, is not as good as he was told to be, or as we were told he was in the offseason. Well, obviously, we saw Klubnik last year, but I was told Cade Klubnik was going to make the next step. I was told Cade Klubnik was going to be that next guy. He was going to be in that, all right, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence range. I don't think he is. No disrespect to the guy. I don't think so. I don't know. Why was there a very firm belief around college football that this was the best team in the country this year? Guys, I can say right now, I didn't fall victim to the trap. We picked Louisiana State to beat them in week 1. Yeah, I had Louisiana State going on the road to Clemson and beating them, and that's what happened. Clemson, guys, I don't know. The new AP poll has them at 12th. They shouldn't be 12. They should be like 20. Guys, you're telling me Clemson's better than Indiana right now? Because they're not. You're telling me they're better than USF? They're not better than South Florida. They're not better than Alabama, I don't think either. I don't know. I don't know about that one. However, I'm taking Georgia Tech to beat them this week. I am, guys. Haynes King shows up in big-time football games. Now, Haynes King will not be playing this week because it instead is Aaron Philo. So that's something that I guess can throw you off, but I'm okay with it. Guys, the freshman Aaron Philo, in the one game he's played in 2025 against Gardner-Webb, was pretty solid. Had to make some starts last year with the Haynes King injury, started against NC State. He's not a bad backup to have. He's really not. Especially right now against a Clemson team that can't score. I don't know. I mean, it's just, they're not good. I don't know what to say, you know? Like, yes, if Haynes King was starting, I think I'd like Georgia Tech even better. Even without him, I think Georgia Tech wins. I don't know if he's going to be back this week or not. I don't. Because obviously Haynes King, one of the best dual threat guys in the country. I can't really throw the ball that well, but I mean, he's like Max Duggan on steroids running the football, right? Like Max Duggan would put his shoulder into people and try to run them over. Haynes King does all that. Doesn't have the throwing ability, obviously, that Max Duggan had in college. You get what I mean, though, right? Like, he's a great runner of the football who, passing-wise, I don't care if it's Aaron Philo this week. I still think that G-Tech wins the football game. Guys, Clemson almost lost to Troy on their own home field. And now they got to go to Atlanta, to Georgia Tech. I don't think it's going to go well for them. Why every season we're told Clemson's great. Clemson's some monster. They're a juggernaut every single year. And I get it. They won the ACC last year. I don't see it this year. I don't see it. Remember 2 years ago when they were supposed to be the best team in college football? Oh, Cade Klubnik's first year starting, right? And they go week 1 and lose in Durham to Duke. And they end up in the Gator Bowl. Because they lost on the road to NC State. They lost 4 games in 2023. Last year, yes, they won. They lost 3 and still made the postseason. They found a way, right? Lost to Louisville at home, at Death Valley. Lost to Georgia in a neutral site. Lost to South Carolina at the end of the season. Still made the postseason, though, because they were able to beat SMU. I don't care that SMU lost in week 1. They wouldn't beat SMU right now. Why is Clemson ranked and Southern Methodist isn't? Or for that matter, why isn't Baylor ranked right now? I don't care they lost to Auburn. Auburn's better than Clemson. There's so many schools in the country right now that are better than the Clemson Tigers. Clemson can't throw the ball that well right now. They can't run it. How are they going to win? Georgia Tech has beaten Gardner-Webb and Colorado. I think Colorado is actually an underrated win now. It is. Colorado's better than you think they are this season. Like, Colorado will still be in a bowl game. They won't win the Big 12, but they will be competitive in the Big 12 in 2025, I firmly believe. I think they get overlooked now just because of no Shador, no Travis Hunter. And just because, they lose to Georgia Tech, who cares? That's still a good program. I'm going Georgia Tech at home. You can play the money line. Not my favorite. I'd play the points here plus 6.5, especially if this gets up to 7 or 7.5. Then I love it because I don't think Clemson's able to cover that many points. I think Clemson's just going to be trying to survive and find a way to win this game. Not, we need to cover this many points and we're going to blow this team out. That's just not how I see this game going. Give me Georgia Tech at home plus 6.5. Clemson's not that good. That's all you need to know about this week 3 matchup being played, obviously, in Atlanta. Let's move on now to our next game as we go to Alabama, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, as the Alabama Crimson Tide host the Wisconsin Badgers. Get this out the way right now. I wouldn't bet on it. Wisconsin, obviously, right, starting their backup quarterback in Danny O'Neal. Billy Edwards out for the foreseeable future. So it is the former San Diego State transfer. I don't know why I always think he's from Oregon. San Diego State transfer in Danny O'Neal. Danny O'Neal didn't really think he was going to start this year, but here he is. Played a good game against Middle Tennessee, but I can't put too much into that because Middle Tennessee, I believe, is one of the worst teams in college football. So, who knows, right? Like, they put belt to ass on Middle Tennessee. They won it 42-10. The final outcome was never in question. I don't know what to get out of that. So I'll say right now, I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet on the game at all. Because Alabama, they looked horrible in week number 1 against Florida State. They come back last week and score 73 points. And I know, right, the Bama fans are pumping themselves up. Oh, it's the most points we've ever scored, right? Nick Saban never scored 73 points as they're, coping with Kalen DeBoer. I know that's not a majority of Alabama fans, but I've seen it. Oh, we scored 73 points. Great. You played UL Monroe. You played the Warhawks of UL Monroe, who have gotten much worse since 2024, by the way. All right? Just watching that team, I don't know. I was never the highest on Aiden Armetta. He can't throw the ball anymore as a sophomore. I don't know. He beat out General Booty last year, but anyways. Alabama looks good against UL Monroe. It's UL Monroe. You can't put anything into that game. They score 73 points. Great. Ty Simpson goes 17 for 17 for 226 yards. They're playing a Sun Belt school. I mean, duh. You're supposed to beat a Sun Belt school. You're Alabama. They host Wisconsin. If anything, I think Wisconsin's going to hold them defensively. We saw Alabama struggle against the Florida State defense, and I get it. Florida State defense, one of the best in the country. Is Wisconsin on that level? No. But Wisconsin does need to gear up for, you'd think I'd say their tough schedule where they play Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, and Indiana in 4 straight games. No, they got to prepare themselves for the low-scoring Big Ten games they got to play this year against Iowa, against Minnesota, right? Like, those are the games they got to get ready for. So, the defense is going to badger down here. All right, thought I said bear down. No, badger down. That's horrible. In Tuscaloosa, and I think they're going to hold Alabama some. I think Bama's winning the game, obviously. I don't think Danny O'Neal is a backup quarterback, transfer quarterback, is going to walk into Tuscaloosa and beat the Crimson Tide, even though it's not the same Alabama team. It's not the same program. Nick Saban's gone. They're not the same, right? Alabama, they will always be somewhere around the rankings. Are they a powerhouse anymore in 2025? No, they're not. The days of Alabama being a powerhouse are gone, in my opinion. I don't think they're making the playoffs. I don't think they're top 5 in the SEC, okay? That might be a hot take. I don't think they are, right? I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but I can give you right now 5 teams better in the SEC than Alabama, and I could say, no, it is close, but okay. Georgia's better than Alabama. Tennessee's better than Alabama. Texas, as much as they struggle, is better than Alabama. Oklahoma's much better than Alabama. And who do we want to... Oh, LSU. LSU's better than Alabama. I don't know if Ole Miss is better. I don't know. I think Auburn right now is playing better than Alabama, too. They're 6. I don't know about Ole Miss. Ole Miss, A&M, we'll see this week on A&M. I don't know. South Carolina, no. I'll get to South Carolina later. I think Wisconsin covers. Would I play the game? No. Don't do it. It's 20.5 points. I don't know what to expect. Wisconsin on the road. They might shit down their leg. They might piss down their leg. But I think they'll keep it competitive enough against the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think, last week is kind of it's fake. It is. It looks good on paper. Oh, you scored 73 points. Your quarterback goes 17 for 17 passing. You played a Sun Belt school and a bad Sun Belt school at that. Wisconsin, do I like the team all that much? No, they don't really run the ball all that well. But I think their defense alone keeps them in the game to the point where I think the offense needs to score 14, 17 points, and then they should cover. So give me the Wisconsin Badgers on the road to cover 20.5 points. Don't bet the game, though, okay? Do not bet it. There's better stuff later on in the day. I don't know if this is it, though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is the cream of the crop games to bet on, but here we are. It's the game that the state of Michigan has been waiting for all year long. Who needs Sparty? We've got the Chippewas of Central Michigan. They're coming off a 45-17 loss last week on the road to Eli Holstein and the Pitt Panthers. Now, the backyard brawl is later in the video. We'll get to that. Can't wait. Obviously, WVU Pitt, second time in the last 15 seasons. They brought it back last year. We'll get to that later. First time it's back in Morgantown. Central Michigan goes on the road to Michigan here to Ann Arbor, to take on the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan loses to Oklahoma. Can't say I didn't tell you so. I didn't tell you so. I thought that was going to happen. And this is what I've been saying about Michigan. And not to pat myself on the back here, but I will. Guys, this is why you should have started Mikey Keene. Because, did you not? Okay, if you've seen the clips on Twitter, and just clips during the game too, where Bryce Underwood is yelling at players on the sideline. Yeah, this is an 18-year-old freshman who's making $10 million a season at Michigan. It's kind of hard for, at least, again, this isn't even going at Bryce Underwood. When you're making that much money, yeah, you feel like you are that guy. So you can command everybody because you're making that much money. You signed the highest deal ever for a collegiate athlete coming out of high school. And you complete 9 passes. You go 9 for 24 for 140 yards. Is Bryce Underwood a talent? Undoubtedly. He's a great football player. But as a true freshman at 18 years of age, 19 I think now, you have a 5th-year senior on your bench who has started 3 years of college football in Mikey Keene. Was Michigan going to win a championship this season? No. Okay, their championship is Ohio State in the last week of the year again, obviously, right? They were never going to win the Big Ten. They were never going to be like the elite team. But if you wanted to make that transition to Bryce Underwood, here's a spot where you could have done it. You weren't going to lose week 1. You were playing New Mexico. You could have had Mikey Keene take the fall in Norman. And now you bring in Bryce Underwood to be the starting quarterback. And now he has his confidence. He beat Central Michigan, and now you get him going on the road to Nebraska. That's his first real test. Is it a sure thing they're going to beat Nebraska on the road? No. But it's a manageable first spot. Not on the road at an SEC school with one of the best quarterbacks in college football this year with John Matier. Ooh, man. I just don't get it. I think Underwood might struggle now. But that's a decision Michigan made. It is what it is. They play the Central Michigan Chippewas here in week number 3. Obviously, they will win, okay? Central Michigan beat San Jose State in week number 1. San Jose State had that game, and they just let it drop. That was their football game, and they decided, you know what? We don't want to win that game. Their kicker came in and decided to lose it. And I found it really funny, by the way, last week when they played on ABC. Walker Agette was getting an earful on the sidelines, but their kicker, game starts, first drive out, they get a 40-something yard field goal. Doesn't even hit it in the same zip code as Austin, Texas. Yikes. I still think they're beating Stanford, though, in a couple weeks. I still think San Jose is going to go to Stanford and win. I think they will. Anyways, though, I still think they're probably one of the better teams in the Mountain West. I actually think so. They don't even play Boise or UNLV this year. Yeah, they might go to the Mountain West title game. That's going to be a joke if they do, but they might. The Mountain West title game might be in San Jose this year. Look at the Mountain West is pretty bad. Actually, they might not be able to beat Hawaii. Hawaii's pretty solid. Regardless, that's neither here or there. Michigan gets Central Michigan here. They'll beat them. Obviously, we're talking about San Jose State because of Central Michigan's victory. Last week, they scored 17 points on Pittsburgh, but it's a blowout game. They scored 10 points in the second quarter. That's great. They get beat up, though. They just do, They get beat up the entire game. They could not run the football at all. They were decent in some passing spots, but now you're facing, again, Pittsburgh's defense is good, all things considered, to a MAC team in Central Michigan. Now you got to face one of the best defenses in the country in the Michigan Wolverines. Oh, I'm so sure this is going to go great for you, right? I don't like the spot at all. Again, would I bet it? Probably not. The better spot in the 9 o'clock hour, again, there's not much to do with the 9 o'clock hour. The best spot at 9 a.m., I firmly believe, is Oregon against Northwestern. I just think that game is going to be a blowout. But if you want to play the Central Michigan game, I do believe 27.5 is kind of a discount line a little bit too, just because I don't think Central Michigan is going to score. They scored 16 points at San Jose State. How are they going to score at Michigan at the Big House in front of 100,000 people? So give me the Michigan Wolverines to win. I firmly expect it to be a blowout. I think if they can score that many points, Michigan should win 42-0. And this should be the game, hopefully, where Underwood gets some confidence back and he just starts completing more passes. Hopefully that starts with things underneath. Short balls to get him going early, and then you can develop things as you go on. I would expect as well a Mikey Keene appearance for the first time as a Wolverine, hopefully by the third quarter, and maybe Keene will get a chance to prove why he's actually the best quarterback on this roster this season. Not to say Underwood's not going to be great, because I think he's going to be. Right now, the best quarterback on the roster is the former Bulldog and Mikey Keene. It's a shame he's not starting. We're going Michigan Wolverines spread minus 27.5 at home against the Central Michigan Chippewas. On to our next game, we move to a game over or matchup over in Troy, Alabama, between the Troy Trojans and the Memphis Tigers. If you're Troy, right, I know you didn't win last week, but you gotta feel somewhat good about that performance, right? I mean, you're up at halftime against Clemson, but here's the thing, right? You gotta be feeling good, but at the same time, okay, you were up 16-3 at halftime against Clemson, and you lost 27-23. I know, right? Troy had no expectation of going into that game and beating the Clemson Tigers. But I don't know, right? I mean, you were up by so much, and you just let it slip away, and Clemson really dominated the second half. Like, obviously, there's some disappointment, because you go into that game thinking you don't got a chance, and then all of a sudden at halftime, you're staring at a 16-3 lead, and you're like, okay, if we score one more touchdown, we're probably going to win this football game. Obviously, they couldn't. I just don't know what the mindset is for Troy after, almost winning a game that you had no business being in. Regardless, the Troy Trojans host the Memphis Tigers. Memphis is a 6.5 point favorite, on the road. They should cover. And this is what made Clemson-Troy so surprising. When I look to the Sun Belt at the beginning of the season, Troy is not a team that just, stood out to me and made me think, oh, okay, this is the Sun Belt champions in 2025, right? I don't know who that is. Initially, I was like, it's probably Southern Miss, just because the influx of talent they got in the portal. Texas State's right there, App State too. Like those are JMU, still a very capable team. Not Troy. Okay, I'd be a little surprised if Troy got 6 wins this year. So that's what makes it look even worse for Clemson, right? Backing up what I said earlier in the video about how horrendous that was for the Clemson Tigers. You get Troy this week at home against Memphis. Memphis has got a good offense. They're always gonna have a good offense. Brendan Lewis has done an all right job. It's been their run game, though. It's been Brendan Lewis at quarterback, obviously, running, and it's been Sutton Smith as well, right? Lewis, in terms of passing the football, not the best pure passer, but he can do it with his legs, right? He leads the team, obviously, in passing yards and rushing yards, too, with 150 on the season. Their main running back, Sutton Smith, 23 carries for 135 yards so far in 2025. Memphis should just run them out the building, I believe. I think this will be somewhat of a shootout early. I think Troy will score to start the game in the first quarter, maybe even the second. But Memphis can't sustain that the entire game. I don't believe Troy can. Guys, we just saw Memphis go on the road and have no problems at Georgia State. I get the Georgia State Panthers, not the best team in the country, right? But they go to Georgia State and they dominate, right? TJ Finley gets to start, right? The very late transfer for Georgia State, which is just crazy, is it not? Like, he shows up 7 days ago and they start him at quarterback after he stole someone's truck, and I thought his college football career was over. They said, you know what, come on down, TJ Finley. Yep, you might have a warrant for your arrest right now. I don't know if he does, but yeah, come on down to your 6th school in the last 4 years. He's one hell of a talent, don't get me wrong, he's 6'7". But, oh man, shocked me when I saw that he was not just going to Georgia State, but starting last week. They lose, right? They get blown out. That's something to me, man. Wow. It's insane. It's insane that they beats me. Memphis will beat Georgia State. Or not Georgia State, but they did beat Georgia State. They will go on the road and beat Troy. The run game is just going to be too much for Troy to keep up with. Like, we talked about how bad Clemson's run game is. It's really bad, and I get it, right? We don't expect much out of Troy going on the road to Death Valley, taking on an ACC school in Clemson, and holding much of a stand against them. I get that. But Clemson's run game's not very good, and Clemson had their way on the ground against Troy. I'm not sold on Troy's quarterback. It's Goose Crowder. Crowder's kind of just mid for me. Not a guy where I point and say, oh, best Sun Belt quarterback. He's not, He's been at Troy for quite a bit. Never been the guy with the Troy Trojans. He officially is now, right? Former WVU player transferred to Troy in 2023. He's officially taken the reins. He's a decent quarterback for the Sun Belt. I don't think he's the quarterback in the Sun Belt. We will get to the quarterback in the Sun Belt at the very end of the video against Arizona State. Because the quarterback in the Sun Belt, to say it right now, that's Brad Jackson, I think. Brad Jackson, man. The year that guy's having, true freshman, or a redshirt freshman, ooh, man. Brad Jackson's he's a dog, dude. We'll get to him later. Texas State keeps finding really good quarterbacks. Jordan McLeod, TJ Finley. Well, I know they didn't find TJ Finley, but they had TJ Finley, and now Brad Jackson. Texas State's the best team in the Sun Belt, I think. I'm not too wowed on Troy. I think their running back's decent. Tate Meadows, he's been all right. but not a team that I would expect to be all that competitive with Memphis. I think Memphis goes in there and blows them out. We've seen Memphis go on the road and blow out teams before. We saw it last week against Georgia State. I would expect the same exact thing this week on the road in Troy, Alabama. Let's move on now to our next game. We go to some MACtion. All right. The Kent State Golden Flashes host the Buffalo Bulls. Ooh, yeah. I remember this game last year. I've made a lot of money on this game. Buffalo went on the road last year, and no, it was at home, actually. Kent State went to Buffalo and destroyed the Buffalo Bulls. That game was hilarious. I don't want to give you a full in-depth breakdown of that game, but it was just hilarious. Buffalo was great last season. I remember betting that game, and the thing that we were always concerned about a little bit with Kent State last year was their best receiver, well, Luke Floria, but Krishan McCray, who's now at Michigan State, the best receiver all year long. I remember betting that game like minus 27.5, and then they get onto the pregame show, and Krishan McCray's not playing. As soon as not even the pregame show, the game started, and we got word Krishan McCray, he's in uniform, but he's not going to give it a go. I come to find out that then he's going to transfer to Michigan State. Crazy. Makes sense though. He's one hell of a talent. Regardless, though, Buffalo last year finished on a huge winning streak. They won their last 4 games and destroyed Liberty in the Bahamas Bowl in January. They come back in 2025, lose to Minnesota week 1. Okay. They dominate St. Francis last week. That's important because, hold on here. Stay with me now. Kent State last season lost to St. Francis. Yep. In Kent, Ohio, they lost 23-17 to St. Francis, PA, a team obviously in the FCS. Buffalo, for comparison, I know different teams, obviously, like 2025 St. Francis, PA, compared to 2024 St. Francis. Buffalo beat them 45-6. Yeah. Kent's one win this year. They finally did it. They won a game. We did it. They beat Merrimack. I beat Merrimack 21-17. Drew DeShields is the quarterback. Don't know much you can ask of him. And they lost to Texas Tech last week. They scored 14 points against Texas Tech. Still lost by 38, though. Which, honestly, not that bad. I thought it was going to be more. They lose 62-14 to the Texas Tech Red Raiders, who are a top 25 school in the country now. Why is Kent State going to FSU and to Oklahoma after this? Are we serious? Why do they do this to themselves? They went to Penn State, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee last year. What are you doing? I mean, you got to get your money, right? You got to get your money. That's wow. Buffalo's going to destroy them. I know it's at Kent. I don't care. Buffalo's going to win the game by 30-plus points just because Buffalo's really good. I had my doubts about Taquan Roberson. He's no CJ Agbana, don't get me wrong. But they don't try to make Taquan Roberson into CJ Agbana. Because Agbana could throw it deep. They would unleash him in the pass game quite a bit. They let Roberson throw, but they really, again, Al-Jay Henderson was huge last year for them, but they really ride with Al-Jay Henderson now. They let Taquan Roberson run the ball as well. Last year, again, it was a lot of Al-Jay Henderson and it was a lot of Victor Snow. It still is both of those guys, but now you add Roberson's running ability. Agbana could run too, but obviously, right, a lot of their run damage was just done with Al-Jay Henderson. Obviously, they'd throw the ball a lot more with Agbana compared to Roberson, but Roberson's doing a decent job. I'm surprised, honestly. I did not think Roberson was going to be this good for the Buffalo Bulls. Truthfully, I didn't think he was going to be this effective for them. I'm going to be going in this game with Buffalo to cover, and that should come to the surprise of nobody. I think they'll easily cover here against Kent State. Line is 22.5 points. Yeah, they should cover. Kent State's just, they're really bad at football. Not to be harsh, but it's the truth. They're a bad football team, and Buffalo should have their way. Anything that they want in this game, they should be able to just take. Run game, pass game. Kent State's not a very good tackling team. Their offense doesn't really score. They only scored in garbage time against Texas Tech, so expect them to not score at all against Buffalo or not until very late in the football game. So as a whole, this game will not be competitive. That's what I'm trying to get at with all this. Buffalo wins the football game, and they cover the 22.5 points as well. Next up, we move on to the Southeastern Conference. I mean, kind of the Southeastern Conference. Here come the Auburn Tigers hosting the South Alabama Jaguars. The Gio Lopez-less South Alabama Jaguars. Shout out to, of course, the Tar Heels last week. Bill Belichick, first ever victory as a collegiate head coach. Huge win on the road at Charlotte. Thought that line was crazy, and it was exactly that. Okay, South Alabama last week plays a competitive game against Tulane at home. Jake Retzlaff and the Green Waves still go on the road and win that football game. Tulane is a very good team. They have playoff potential this year, even though it's probably going to be USF out of the group of 5 this season. But South Alabama plays a close game against Tulane last week, losing it 33-31. Bishop Davenport plays a decent game. Davenport is a good two-way quarterback, good dual-threat quarterback for the Jags, right? Former Utah State guy, backup last year, Gio Lopez. Davenport is decent. He really is. Kentrell Bullock, also at the backfield, can get it done on the ground. He's a more than capable running back. The Auburn Tigers, 2-0 this season in 2025, right? Beating the Baylor Bears in week 1, beating the Ball State Cardinals in week number 2. Jackson Arnold's done enough for this team, right? Week 1, he's really on the ground. He's moving the ball effectively. Again, dual threat guy. Week 2, Ball State, you don't really need the legs of Jackson Arnold. You just need him to burn, the opposition's defense, obviously, with his arm. And, well, they did exactly that. Now, Ball State might be the worst team in the Mid-American this season, not named Kent State. No, Akron's really horrible, too. We'll get to Akron later. The Zips are another level of bad, man. They're Kent State bad this year. I don't know. What I'm saying here is that Auburn will beat South Alabama, and I believe they will cover too. I've been impressed with Jackson Arnold. I didn't think Jackson Arnold was going to be this good. I didn't think so. I thought he was going to be good with this new system, obviously. I'm surprised how good he's been, truthfully. You look at the games he's played, in all fairness, doesn't do much in the Baylor game on the through the air, but on the ground, man. 16 carries, 137 yards, right? The Ball State game, they don't need Jackson Arnold's legs. They don't need it, right? Because it's throw the ball 15 yards downfield, odds on there's nobody from Ball State there, or at least nobody can keep up with, whatever the hell Auburn's got, catching passes from Jackson Arnold, right? Same can be said here. Obviously, right? South Alabama is better than Ball State. Are they that much better? Offensively, they are. Defensively, no. Jake Retzlaff and company, they were really able to run the ball against South Alabama. Mobley at 82 yards on 11 carries. Gordon at 80 yards on 15 carries. Jake Retzlaff at 64 yards on 13 carries, right? Like, everybody was able to run the ball last week for the Green Wave against South Alabama. South Alabama can throw, right? They got Voisin, who's their best receiver, 8 catches, 152 yards last weekend, right? Kentrell Bullock is a threat. That's against Tulane at home. That's probably the best you're ever going to play against Tulane. I think South Alabama played up to Tulane's level last week, and now you got to go on the road against an SEC school in Auburn. It's just not going to go well for them. It's not. Auburn's obviously just a much better version of Tulane everywhere. Jackson Arnold does a lot of what Jake Retzlaff does. And I think Jake Retzlaff is really good. And I think as the season goes on, obviously, right, Retzlaff is only going to get better in that Tulane system. But Jackson Arnold playing at Auburn is going to be better than Jake Retzlaff playing at Tulane, just because of the weapons that's around these guys and the offensive lines that they both have. Auburn should score every time they touch the football, right? Tulane scores 33 points in South Alabama. Auburn should score 50 plus. So when I ask you that question, let's say Auburn scores, I'll be nice, I'll say they score 49 points. Can South Alabama score 14? Maybe. That could happen. Maybe they do. I wouldn't bank on it, though. I wouldn't bank on it at all. I think Auburn's going to shut them down defensively. Baylor's a good offense. They are. Look at all the success Baylor has last week in Southern Methodist. I get it. The Mustangs do not have the best defense. They don't. But look at what Baylor does, man. They're down 14 points. What was it? 10 points with 3 minutes, with 4 minutes, they still come back and win, send to overtime and win. Look how well Sawyer Robertson's throwing the football. Yeah, Auburn held them to 24 points, and one of those touchdowns came when the game was already over. Auburn's defense is good. It is, right? And now, what is South Alabama going to do against this defense? Exactly nothing. Give me Jackson Arnold and the Auburn Tigers to win at home against the South Alabama Jaguars. I don't think it's that competitive of a football game. I'm going Auburn minus 25.5 to blow them out. Next up, we go to a killer matchup. Let's go. UConn versus the Delaware Blue Hens. All right, yeah. Delaware, third or second, really, FBS versus FBS game in their program's history. They will host their first ever FBS opponent, at least coming into Newark, Delaware, at Delaware Stadium. The Blue Hens host the UConn Huskies. Yeah, UConn's going to run them out the building. Yeah, they are. They will run them out the building. Joe Fagano is pretty solid. He is. He's pretty decent. They had Syracuse last week, man. They had them. I will give Angeli credit. Like, Steve Angeli can launch it, and that's what I thought we were going to get out of Angeli at Syracuse, was just a lot of yardage. You know, maybe not really concerning ourselves too much with the interception numbers, but a guy who's just going to get to throw the ball a million times a game. Well, hell, it worked for Kyle McCord and landed him a practice squad role with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Like, Syracuse is one of these schools, like, you know, it's a lesser version of the Miami Hurricanes, obviously, but that's where you go if you want to become a pro quarterback. You go to Syracuse and you throw the ball on the spread offense for 60 minutes a game, right? That's just what happens. So Angeli throws for 417 yards. Guys, UConn had that game. They had it. They had Syracuse right where they wanted them, and they let him off the hook. That's what happened. They couldn't win in overtime. Going into the fourth quarter, UConn is up 17-6 over the ACC Syracuse Orange. They just don't come through. It is what it is. I'll tell you this, though. Joe Fagano is a good quarterback. It's weird UConn's an independent because they play a random-ass schedule all year long. They've got guys who can run the football. And now we have Delaware, who, sure, scored a touchdown when it mattered early against Colorado. They've got a quarterback who can launch it in Nick Minciucci. But he's a guy who, let's just be honest, Minciucci just slings it all game long. He doesn't really care where it goes. He knows he's going to get a lot of opportunity. So he's just going to keep firing it the entire game. 50% completion rate last week for Minciucci against the Colorado Buffaloes. He goes 18 for 36 passing for 312 yards and a touchdown. Not a bad line against Colorado, but how many times did Delaware get in the end zone? Once. The run game is pretty non-existent in my opinion. They are really dependent on what they can do through the air. And yeah, I mean, if you're Delaware, you're looking at this game, okay, well, you know, Syracuse threw for 417 yards against UConn. While that is true, Syracuse had 6 points through 3 quarters against UConn. They were never able to punch it in. They're never able to make that big play until that fourth quarter where Angeli had the 53-yard touchdown, right? And then, of course, Syracuse ran their liners at the end of the game because, you know, disappointment. They still won, so, hey, 1-1 in the season now, right? ACC championship dreams are still there, I guess. Not really. But, I don't think this goes too well for Delaware. It is their first game at home. I don't know what type of crowd they're going to have for the first time, you know, at Delaware. I know they played a game earlier this season, but that was against FCS Delaware State, the Hornets. Yeah, the Hornets. No, they're not the Yellow Jackets. Yeah, it's the Hornets. I just don't know how Delaware is going to be able to really move the ball this game. I don't know. I just, like, yeah, okay, you know, Syracuse moved the ball in UConn. UConn's got so much more talent than Delaware. This is an FCS program coming up. UConn, you know, I know they're not a cream of the crop team. This isn't basketball, right? UConn's not elite. They've been a pretty good G5 school, man. They have, right? Last year, UConn goes 8-4, and they won the Fenway Bowl against North Carolina, right? Like, this team is pretty decent, and Joe Fagano, pretty decent collegiate quarterback, especially for the G5, right? UConn turned a page in 2024, and I think they're still on a very good track, right? 1-1 so far in 2025. They lost to Syracuse in overtime, but had them. Just let it go. Week 1 dominated Central Connecticut. I'm not telling you they're going to blow out Delaware like they did to Central Connecticut in week number 1, but I do think it is somewhat of domination here in week number 3 in the first ever game in Delaware at the Blue Hens. Is it the Nest? No, it's not, is it? I hope it's the Nest. I don't think it is. But give me UConn to go on the road and dominate the Delaware Blue Hens. I just think, right, Fagano should be able to move the ball, and I don't think Delaware sees the success that Syracuse saw against UConn. I mean, I'll be damned if they do, but I highly doubt it. Give me the UConn Huskies on the road at Delaware. They will cover the 10.5 points. 10.5, 9.5, wherever you get it. I like UConn. So I forgot to go over this one when I was doing this earlier. I don't know. I just got out of order with my graphics, and I didn't make a graphic for Oklahoma versus Temple. But here it is. We were already on to the 12 o'clock hour of games, but we'll go back real quick to do Oklahoma and Temple. A weird one because Temple gets Oklahoma at home. I don't get this. Like, there's a couple scenarios last week, right? I mean, UNC going to Charlotte, right? I don't know why Iowa State this week is going to Jonesboro, Arkansas to play Arkansas State. I don't know how these small schools are getting the big schools go to them, but it's whatever. It's fine. Temple hosts Oklahoma. I expect Oklahoma to blow Temple out is what I expect here. Temple's look good through the first 2 weeks of the season. I'll give them credit, right? They blow out UMass in the first week of the year. Of course, we're talking about the UMass Minutemen. And they blow out Howard last week. They've got a pretty good quarterback in Evan Simon who does everything they ask him to do. He's thrown the ball at a 77% completion rate right now. He's thrown 9 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, and that's great. Temple might be actually really good in the American Conference this season. But you got to take on Oklahoma, who right now looks like a top 10 team in the country, right? A very good victory over Michigan. Very good, right? That's a Michigan defense that is hard to crack, and Oklahoma goes in there, and John Mateer goes in there and dominates. Now, they scored 24 points, but Mateer plays a really good game, man. 270 passing yards, 75 rushing yards. I mean, those plays that he makes to avoid sacks, get out the pocket, scramble, make those throws, you got to give the guy all the credit in the world, and it makes Oklahoma such a dangerous team when you have a quarterback like that at the helm every single night. I think Temple's pretty decent. Again, I think for the American Conference, yeah, that's a pretty decent football team. I think they're going to see quite a bit of success for the rest of the year, just not against Oklahoma. As we look at the spread right for this game, Oklahoma's a 24.5-point favorite. 4 touchdowns, covers, we're good. I think that's probably what's going to happen. I think Oklahoma will win by about 4 touchdowns. Not a game I'd bet on, just because of, Temple's had a lot of success, but how can we really measure that success against an FCS school in Howard up the MEAC and UMass, who, again, I call UAss because of how horrible they are. Legitimately one of the worst teams in college football. They lost to the Bryant Bears? Bulldogs. They lost to the Bryant Bulldogs on their own home field last week. Horrible. So again, Temple's not bad. They just haven't played a good team yet. And obviously, right, Oklahoma's the best team they're going to play all season. They go to Georgia Tech next week as well. But I mean, that's, I guess, what you want to have before you go into the daunted American League schedule, right? With, Navy, Memphis, South Florida, North Texas, Tulane and company. Army still, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to be going with Oklahoma here to dominate. I'm not going to spend too much time on this game because what else do you want me to say? John Mateer is going to dominate. Temple hasn't played a good team just yet. I like their quarterback. He's played well against lesser competition. It's a whole nother game when you face off against Oklahoma. I'm sure they're going to get a pretty good attendance at Lincoln Financial for this game, I would assume. But I'm going to go with the Oklahoma Sooners. You're coming off an all-time victory at home against Michigan to really establish yourself as a legitimate title challenger this season, right? You have a quarterback for the first time in a couple of years now. No disrespect to Jackson Arnold, but John Mateer's a better quarterback than Jackson Arnold, right? It's the best quarterback they've had since Dylan Gabriel. So I know it's only been 2 seasons, but still, I'm taking Oklahoma here to win and cover against Temple. Forgot about this one earlier, but here we are. Okay. On to the biggest game of the week, not named USF in Miami. And I guess, no, both this and USF Miami is bigger than Notre Dame. Here we go. Tennessee hosts Georgia. ABC, 12:30 at Rocky Top. Can the Tennessee Volunteers get the Georgia Bulldogs? The answer to that question is yes, they can. Oh, yes. And I'll even say, you can keep your 7 points. We're taking Tennessee Volunteers money line. It is the reason why I'm wearing the jersey today, not because I'm a Tennessee fan. It's because I think they're in a really good position to beat Georgia this week. Look how Georgia played Austin Peay. Oh my goodness. I mean, just all around horrible out of Georgia. Yeah, they win the game 28-6. Yeah, they scored a touchdown every single quarter. But you can't move the ball that well. You can't punch it in when it matters. Well, no, you can't punch it in. You can't convert and execute in plus territory. So disappointing. Extremely disappointing. And here's the thing, guys. Gunnar Stockton last year was the clear second best quarterback on the roster. If Carson Beck today, you can't do this obviously, but if Carson Beck returned to the University of Georgia right now and said, I want to play football again, Gunnar Stockton would be the second best quarterback on their roster once more. They pushed out their top quarterback, and that guy's now in Miami, and he's going to win the Heisman. Who told you that, by the way? I know it's week 2, so I'm not going to, gloat about that. But, I know DJ Lagway's not winning the Heisman anymore. I don't know what the odds are. I'm going to check right now, but Carson Beck's that dude. Anyways, Tennessee right now is playing like the complete package. Garrett Nussmeier's, I guess. Yeah, Nussmeier, Beck, then Mateer. Okay, yeah. Carson Beck's going to win the Heisman Trophy. Tennessee is playing like an all-around very good football team right now. 72 points against East Tennessee State. Okay, I get it. It's East Tennessee State. We saw both Cade McNamara and Jacoby Criswell last week. Yes, both of those guys are at East Tennessee State. How does both Cade McNamara and Jacoby Criswell end up there? You're both redshirt seniors. You've both been playing college football since 2020. How do you both end up in the same program in the FCS? Like, what? That makes no sense to me. How do they both end up there? I don't know. Anyways, like, neither of you wanted to go to Sacramento State? None of you want to go play in the Big Sky? Like, really? I don't know. Anyways. Tennessee right now is playing like the complete package. Guys, Joey Aguilar, I had my doubts. I had my concerns. Aguilar going from, group of 5 football immediately into the Southeastern Conference. Bro goes from App State to Tennessee. He's passed every test so far. And sure, Syracuse, that's one thing. East Tennessee, obviously a lower level squad. Now it's Georgia. Now it's the toughest game of the schedule the entire year long. But you get it at home. You get it in Knoxville. You get it at Rocky Top. I think Tennessee beats them. Guys, the way Georgia's playing right now compared to the way Tennessee's playing right now, I like Tennessee more. I like Tennessee's defense more. I sure as hell like their offense more. Guys, I wonder how Georgia's going to score this week. Legitimately. I don't think Gunnar Stockton's that good. And Syracuse scored 26 points on Tennessee. Oh, they did. But Tennessee just went out there and scored 45. When Tennessee was really good just 2-3 years ago, pre-Nico Amaliva era, with Hendon Hooker, with Joe Milton, especially with Hendon Hooker, though, who's the best quarterback they've had in a very long time, hell, probably since Peyton Manning. They were able to score in every single drive. And that's just what Tennessee did. And obviously they're doing that again now, right? No huddle offense. They did that some with Nico, but it was a lot of just, run and shoot, right? We're giving the ball to Dylan Sampson and let him go. They can still run the ball. They have Star Thomas now, obviously, from Duke. You can still run the ball effectively. Not like you can, obviously, with Dylan Sampson. We saw Sampson yesterday in the NFL see a little bit of success. No, quite a bit of success with the Cleveland Browns against the Cincinnati Bengals. But they have a legitimate passing attack now, too. Because I don't care what anybody says, what held Tennessee back last season was Nico. Sampson carried the load. Nico, they did not win their game. Tennessee did not win games because of the pass offense. They won games because of their defense, and they won games because of how they were able to run the football. Not Nico. Joey Aguilar can throw. Joey Aguilar is a problem through the air. And you got a decent run game too. Like Star Thomas can do it, right? You have backs. Georgia right now, yeah, they're a good defense. I think Tennessee's able to move the ball. I think Tennessee's able to move the ball against anybody right now. Georgia's offense, I don't think they're all that effective. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the Tennessee Volunteers. So with all that being said, yes, I'm going with Tennessee to win the game at home in Knoxville. +7 for me. Keep those points. I want the money line. I'm taking the Tennessee Volunteers to win at home against the Georgia Bulldogs. +190, +7, whatever you want. I think Tennessee wins at home, and I think they establish themselves as a top 10 team. Georgia got worse with losing Carson Beck and going to Gunnar Stockton. Give me the Vols to win at home against Georgia. Next up, we go to, this joke of a football team. Oh, my goodness. I don't want to completely go over Oregon State and Fresno State last week. If you want to see my full in-depth breakdown of that game, I post on TikTok, Greedo Plays clips, and I made a 2-minute video about that game. I'll say it as short right now. Oregon State lost their long snapper to injury. I don't know if it was in their first game of the year against Cal. I think it was just in practice. Maybe it was against the Cal Bears, whatever. They go an entire week not having a starting long snapper. So you'd think in practice, like we'd find a guy who can long snap, right? I guess they do. They find a guy, they have 2 different long snappers in the game. Guys, Oregon State scored 4 touchdowns. They could not convert an extra point or a 2-point conversion in any of those attempts. They couldn't get off a punt. They get a punt return for a touchdown against them, or with Fresno State returns a punt for a touchdown against them because Oregon State, their punter, can't field the snap because the snap's so horrible. So he just balls on the ground. He just kicks it off the ground, which is an illegal kick. But Fresno declines it because they run it back for a touchdown anyway. It was just a joke from Oregon State. And then to make matters worse, they were actually in the game late. Malik Murphy, though, throws an interception to end the game. That got returned for a touchdown for Fresno. They had the lead with 3 minutes left, but E.J. Warner, being the game manager that he is, led Fresno down the field and scored a touchdown to win the game for the Bulldogs. Fresno now plays Southern this week, the Southern Jaguars out of the SWAC. We're not going to talk about that game. It's an FCS school, obviously. So we talked about the bad teams Texas Tech's played so far. They played Arkansas Pine Bluff out the SWAC. They played Kent State in their second game. Well, now they get an equally as bad opponent as in Oregon State. Now, it's harsh. Oregon State's not that horrible, but they can't get stops defensively. Their offense can score, but I still think they're not going to find a long snapper. If you could not find a long snapper throughout the entire week, there's nobody in your program who can long snap. Maybe they try to find a walk-on. I'm so serious. Like, they probably should try to. You should ask, anyone on campus, can you long snap? Like, come on down if you can. They should find, like, a volleyball player. Okay, here's how you long snap, right? You're a strong dude, whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the hell they should try. But if they couldn't do that in a week, what's going to be different this time around? So they can't punt, they can't kick field goals, and they can't make extra points. I can't trust them to win a football game. I can't trust them to cover, 24.5 points? Oregon State's going on the road, and they're a 24.5 point underdog, and they should be. They should be. Texas Tech is going to score every single time they touch the football, okay? Brendan Morton and the guys will score every time they have it, right? Morton and Will Hammond, obviously Hammond will definitely get to play, the freshman, obviously, got to start games last year in Morton's absence. But I fully expect Texas Tech to score every single time they get the football. Oregon State, Malik Murphy's a talent, and I'm done hyping up Oregon State. Oh, they brought back Anthony Hankerson. They brought back Trent Walker. That's still true. The rest of the team sucks. I think Malik Murphy's still a very good arm talent. Sometimes he just overthrows guys because of just how hard he throws the football. But I'm taking the Texas Tech Red Raiders to blow out Oregon State. I'm in Lubbock, Texas. It's not a competitive game because of just how unserious of a football team Oregon State is. And I think that was firmly established last week on their own home turf. You have that done to you on your own home turf against a Mountain West school in Fresno State who's going to join you in the Pac-12 next year. Oh, I hate it for Oregon State. Give me Texas Tech to blow out the Beavs, minus 24.5. Next up, we move on to a Big Ten matchup. It's the start of Big Ten play as, well, we had Northwestern earlier, but it's the second half of the doubleheader for the Big Ten on CBS. No, the first game's on Fox with Oregon. But anyways, this one's on CBS. USC goes on the road to take on the Boilermakers of Purdue. This will be a blowout. I don't care Purdue's 2-0. Purdue is nowhere near the level of USC. USC, they were in the others receiving votes this week in the AP Top 25. I think you can argue they should be a Top 25 school. I had my doubts. Well, not my doubts, but I was just like, when they beat Missouri State, I don't know what to say. Missouri State, maybe the worst. Then they can't be anymore because they beat Marshall. So one of the worst teams, at least, in all of college football this season. Obviously, the Thundering Herd are worse because they lost their entire program to Southern Miss because that's just college football in 2025. But Missouri State didn't know how to put that USC game that Missouri State game for USC because it was Missouri State's first ever game as an FBS program, and they walk into Southern California, and USC beats them 73-13. It was a game that I'm sure when it was first scheduled, USC was expecting that to be an FCS school, and they're in the CUSA now, so I guess it looks even better for us, so we can go out there and beat Missouri State. Good for them, right? Last week solidified, okay, yeah, they are that explosive offensively. And I get it, they beat Georgia Southern. But to me, the Georgia Southern victory really just, solidifies like, okay, this is a good offense. They have threats, and I guess all aboard the Jaden Maivia hype train. I thought it was a bad move initially when they got rid of Miller Moss. Not like Louisville's playing great football right now, Jaden Maivia so far this year has looked better than Miller Moss. I don't think that's a crazy take at all. I know Louisville's 2-0, but they have not looked an impressive 2-0. They played JMU to a very competitive game last week, and Miller Moss has just been pretty mid. So I guess they made the right decision going with Maivia. So far this year, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 700 yards. I get it's against bad opponents, but 2 Group of 5 schools, no FCS in there. Purdue, 2-0. Beats Ball State 31-0, who, again, that might be the worst team in college football in the FBS level. Them, Akron, Marshall. You go from beating Ball State 31-0 like you're supposed to, and then you beat Southern Illinois, but kind of struggle at the same time. They only beat I don't even know what the hell, the Dogs. I don't know what their damn name is. Salkus? I don't know what the hell that is. It's a dog, I know. But anyways, they struggled to throw the ball. I was kind of disappointed in the effort out of Ryan Brown. Obviously, I didn't watch this game live because, come on, I'm not going to pick out Purdue out of all games to watch. But, yeah, Ryan Brown goes 14 for 23 passing. Doesn't have a great game offensively. They were able to run the ball really well. But, compared to what they did against Ball State, I was surprised. And, by the way, this game, after the end of the first quarter, it's 14-14. Southern Illinois is right in there early. Southern Illinois draws first blood. They're up 7-0. Ryan Brown and the offense responds in the next 2 drives, eventually making it 14-14 going into the second, but that's a lot closer to comfort than I would have liked. You give up 14 points in the first quarter to Southern Illinois. What happens when you have to play a USC offense for 4 quarters on Saturday? Exactly. It's the 3rd consecutive game Purdue gets at West Lafayette, so it's another home game for them, which is great. They're going to get dominated, guys. Because if Ryan Brown and Purdue is struggling to have 4 good quarters against Southern Illinois, what's going to happen when you play USC? A team that's just loaded with talent and deep with talent, right? A team that I am kind of starting to get behind now. I think they are very solid everywhere. Maivia is going to throw for 400 yards. Purdue, I think, might score once. But legitimately, I don't think they score more than 10 points. The line's 21.5. USC, in my opinion, is scoring 40. So do we think Purdue's going to score more than 20? No, not at all. The max Purdue scores this week is 14 points. Oh, they looked, offense was able to move the ball the first 2 weeks. Again, you're playing Ball State, you're playing Southern Illinois. It's a different game when you play the Trojans at USC. It just is. I mean, just in terms of just pure talent, man. Look at the recruits. Look at the portal guys USC gets. Compare that to what Purdue gets. It's not a football school. It's a basketball school. I mean, like, it's the same thing. Like, what happens when USC, or what happens if, Purdue going to USC last year in basketball would have been kind of difficult because everyone struggled at USC. But if USC were to walk into West Lafayette, like, obviously they'd get blown out in basketball. Purdue's not a football school. Indiana is the football school now in the state. Well, Notre Dame, but still not. Shout out to the Hoosiers, right? USC should dominate at Purdue. I expect Jaden Maivia to have one hell of a night. I expect, again, anything USC wants at Purdue, they will be able to get. And I don't think Purdue is able to successfully move the ball. And Purdue next week got to play Notre Dame. Oh my goodness, what a schedule this is the next 3 weeks. USC at South Bend to take on Notre Dame, and then the Illinois Fighting Illini who just beat Duke. Coming off of Illinois' game against Indiana, where they're probably going to lose, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, I'm going to be taking the team on the road this week. I'm taking the USC Trojans to go and cover 21.5 points against the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue just want to be able to move the ball game long, and USC, I think, might score every single time they touch the football. Because I'm going to buy the hype on Jaden Maivia. I believe his targets are really good, and I believe USC is a complete team right now. It's going to be the USC Trojans. We'll see what happens once we get into Big Ten play, but it'll be fun if we get a really competitive USC now in the Big Ten. Like last year, again, they were supposed to be good, couldn't really keep it together throughout the entire Big Ten play. If they are, playoff contention this year in the Big Ten, it makes it even more loaded, and I'm very excited for it. USC wins, and they will cover the 21.5 points in West Lafayette as well. We go on to a matchup in Texas, in Denton, Texas, to be specific, as we have the North Texas Mean Green hosting the Washington State Cougars. Wazoo is 2-0, and Wazoo looked pretty good last week against San Diego State. We picked Wazoo to win. I did not think they were going to win by that many points. Shout out to their quarterback, Jackson Potter, man. After a really difficult start early in that game, like first 2 drives, oh my goodness, I was not too optimistic about Wazoo. They start to just come on as that game goes on. Wazoo wins the game 36-13, right? You lose your starting quarterback last season. You go to Jackson Potter instead. I mean, you had Cam Ward just a couple seasons ago, right? You last year, you had John Mateer, obviously he's at Oklahoma. You produced talent at quarterback. And now you got Potter. I don't know if Jackson Potter is going to be a big-time transfer. He might be. The way he's playing so far, he's playing good football. Week 1 was disappointing for Wazoo. It was a horrible game against Idaho. And that's when I came on. That's why I came on last week and said, well, okay, San Diego State, Wazoo, they both were unimpressive in week 1. I'd say Wazoo was way more unimpressive, but I'm still going to take the Cougs to win it. And they did. Guys, I have a lot of confidence now with the Washington State Cougars. Because they're able to move the football. They're able to throw the ball. I mean, I know they're not the same offense they once were with Mike Leach, obviously. They're nowhere close to what they used to be in that pure 5-out offense. 5-wide offense. But Jackson Potter can throw the ball a little bit. He can. Run game, not the best. Not the best. But Wazoo, this is a big game for them. If they can beat North Texas on the road, you roll into that game against Washington 3-0. They beat Washington last year. On the road, basically. It wasn't at, the university. It was at Lumen, the Seahawks stadium. So essentially, you have to go on the road. You go 4 hours on the road, and you go out and still beat Washington. I get they had John Mateer last year, but who's to say they couldn't do it again this year? And by the way, the game is in Pullman in 2025 in just a couple weeks, 2 weeks from now. So it's a huge game for them. You've got to try to continue that momentum that you built off of beating San Diego State onto the North Texas game and potentially onto Washington. North Texas, right, team lost their starting quarterback, Chandler Morris. Obviously, Morris now at the Power 4 level. Drew Mestamaker, now the starting quarterback, and Mestamaker is really solid. He is, right? This is a very good group of 5 game, in my opinion, because yes, Wazoo is a group of 5 team now. I think they're considered, right? Definitely. Them and Oregon State are considered group of 5 schools, just like how the Pac-12 is going to become a group of 5 conference next year, which is brutal. At least for now. But Drew Mestamaker is a very productive quarterback. My one concern with North Texas, though, is how close the West Michigan game was. You give up 30 points to the West Michigan Broncos? And I'm not going to, I don't think that was, I don't think this is just, West Michigan's good this season. They had a close game with Michigan State. At least they held Michigan State to, 24 points. But that's the thing with Michigan State. We're not going to get to talk about them this week because they're playing Youngstown State. Michigan State, to me, is a very off-and-on football team. Right? Aiden Shiles some days will look like the best quarterback you've ever... I can't say that. He will not look like the best quarterback you've ever seen. He will look like a really good quarterback some nights, like he did against Boston College, and, was a big reason to their victory against Boston College in East Lansing. And then other nights he'll look god-awful horrible. He did not look very good in their opener against Western Michigan. So North Texas plays them really tight. I get it's on the road, it's in Kalamazoo, but I don't know, especially against a West Michigan team that doesn't throw the football. I mean, they ran it all over him for the most part. I don't know. I didn't like the game. I didn't like the game at all for North Texas. I get it. You're on the road. I think Wazoo's able to give them trouble. And I get it. It's a different stylistic matchup, right? I mean, West Michigan, a team that's not going to really throw the ball with their 2 quarterbacks in Brock Lowry and Brady Jones. You're going to get a Wazoo team that's going to try to fire on you, right? I mean, yes, they might try to run the ball some, but it's an offense that's going to throw the football and look to attack that passing game. I think they're going to be somewhat successful at that this week. I think they are. I think we're going to see a shootout, kind of like we did last week with North Texas against Western Michigan. I think Wazoo can win that shootout. I think they can. Guys, talent on both sides are very even, in my opinion. And it's very even. I think this game should be more like a pick-em. And we're getting Wazoo with 5.5 points. I don't care what you take. Probably take the points on this one, personally. Because it is, again, it allows us the margin of error and not just 100% we need Wazoo to win the football game. I think it's going to be very close. I think Wazoo is going to I think Wazoo is going to stay within 1 score for most of the game. Give me the Washington State Cougars plus 5.5 points on the road against North Texas. Yes, Drew Mestamaker can be a really good quarterback. Didn't have his best game last week. Had a really good game in week number 1. I think Wazoo's able to keep it close on the road. Give me the Cougs to keep it close with the Mean Green. On now to our next game we go to. This, oh my goodness, this is going to be bad. This is going to be really bad. Southern Methodist goes on the road to take on Missouri State. This will be an absolute blowout. 27 points is nowhere near enough. I get it. Missouri State's coming off their first ever victory. They beat Marshall. That's great. Guys, Marshall, after watching that team last week, holy crap, they are really bad too. Marshall might not win a game all year long other than their game this week against Eastern Kentucky. Like, legitimately, Marshall goes to Middle Tennessee in 2 weeks. That's a game I expect Middle Tennessee to win. And I know I've talked a lot of bad stuff about Middle Tennessee this year. Marshall might be even worse. And it makes sense. They got completely destroyed because of the transfer portal. It's just how it works in college football now. Missouri State wins on the road. Surprising, right? Jacob Clark is a really good game. Their starting quarterback. He goes 21 for 31 passing for 359 yards. It's just Marshall's defense is not very good. They play soft coverage, and you're able to really exploit their zone quite a bit. Missouri State run game is really bad, so they're going to have to throw on Southern Methodist, which creates for a lot of things, okay? Expect for a lot of incompletions. I know SMU's defense isn't great, and Sawyer Robertson threw for 440 yards on them. Again, guys, the talent level difference on Missouri State compared to Baylor, it's night and day. It is. It's not even close. So don't think that Baylor had success over there in Dallas. That doesn't mean that Missouri State's going to have success. I don't know why SMU's going to Missouri State. I don't know why this is happening, and this is one hell of a game for Missouri State to get as their first ever home game as an FBS program. You got to host a team that was in the ACC title game last year and was in the playoffs, and a team that's pissed off after scoring 45 points last week and not winning thanks to their kicker who missed a field goal in overtime. Thanks, pal, right? It's a shame Kevin Jennings kind of got shaken up on that second to last play of the game, at least for the SMU offense. Anyways, you're playing a pissed-off SMU team. Kevin Jennings, who's still very capable and a very good quarterback. This is not going to go well for Missouri State. They will try to throw the ball with Jacob Clark, and that's going to allow for a lot of incompletions, which is going to stop the clock and just maximize the amount of possession Southern Methodist is going to be able to get. And that means SMU, not because they want to, it's just they're going to be able to keep running up the score. Because they're going to keep getting the football, they're going to keep being able to push the ball downfield, and they're going to keep getting possession after possession after possession. It's a difficult game for Missouri State. That's all I'll say. It's a very difficult game for them. We saw what happened last time they played against a Power 4 school. They go to USC, they get blown out. Sure, they host Southern Methodist this time around. I don't think that SMU is going to blow them out as badly as USC did. I don't think at all. But I still think SMU is going to blow them out. I expect SMU to win the game by 35 points. Line's at 26.5. It's just not enough. It isn't. Missouri State, yeah, they had so many yards last week. How many points did they score with all those yards? 21. Even if they score 21 points this week, I still think SMU is going to cover it because all the possessions they're going to get. Again, USC scored 73 points against Missouri State because, again, they were able to get the ball so much. It was possession after possession after possession. I expect SMU to dominate in this game against Missouri State on the road. I don't know why. I don't know why and how they got this game at Springfield, Missouri, but this is going to be all Southern Methodist on the road, beating Missouri State in their first ever home game as an FBS program. Next up, we move to the Backyard Brawl. Pitt, West Virginia, they do it again. Pitt opened as a 2-point favorite. They have now moved to a minus 4.5-point favorite. I understand why. Look at what West Virginia did last week. Ohio's good. They will go to Ohio State later in the video. We'll talk about them in about 30 minutes-ish. Maybe more. You can't lose to Ohio. I'm sorry. I don't care how good Ohio is. I don't care you went on the road to Ohio. If you're West Virginia, you're a Big 12 school, regardless of what the odds say, you're only a 3.5-point favorite. That's just a game you have to win. It just is. Parker Navarro, guys, if you were to tell me last week, going into that game, right? Parker Navarro throws 3 interceptions against WVU. Ohio doesn't score in the second half at all. I would have easily taken West Virginia. I would have said, oh, no doubt WVU is going to win the game. I don't care how bad their offense is. They will still go in there and win that football game. Nope. Because Ohio scored 0 points in that second half. WVU scored 3. They went into halftime down 7-17. They scored the first touchdown of the game, and they ended it with just a field goal on top of that. WVU is not a good football team. I don't care the game's in Morgantown, West Virginia. I don't care that the crowd is going to be into this one. Oh, they're going to really pump up, in West Virginia for this game. It's the Backyard Brawl. It's the first Backyard Brawl in WVU in years because last year I was played in Pittsburgh. I get it, last year that was a very competitive game that Pitt won at the very end by 4 points. It was a very fun football game. Oh no, they played the Backyard Brawl here in 23, did they not? No, they did. Sorry, this is the second time it's back at West Virginia. Never mind. Yeah, so that goes against my one conflicting point. No one's gonna care. I get it's the Backyard Brawl. It's a rivalry. You just lost to Ohio on the road, a MAC school, and now you think you can beat Pittsburgh and Eli Holstein, who is an elite quarterback in college football. Look what Eli Holstein does last week. 4 touchdowns. He's thrown 4 touchdowns in back-to-back games so far this year. Sure, against Duquesne and Central Michigan, but Eli Holstein's more than capable. Look at Desmond Reed, who won the starting job last year. Well, was given the starting job because Rodney Hammond wasn't eligible for the first half of the season. Now he's at Sacramento State, and he doesn't even start at Sacramento State, by the way. Sac State, who just lost to the University of Nevada on the road. Played them close, but lost. That's neither here or there. They're not even starting Rashada, too, right? Rashada couldn't even win the starting job there. Yikes. It's Cardell Williams from Tulsa. Anyways, Desmond Reed's playing really good football still. And Eli Holstein, when he's healthy, which he has been this year, right? Just got injured at the tail end of last year with the concussion and whatnot. Yeah, he's very capable. I don't forget about Pitt in the ACC. They're not the best. They're not going to go to the ACC title game. They are going to be a bowl-eligible team, though, in the conference. Right? Last year, don't forget, they started 7-0. They just lost their last 5. They've won their first 2 this year, and they will go to WVU, and they will win. West Virginia's offense is horrible. And that's the easiest way I can put this game for you. The Mountaineers won't be able to keep up. You scored 10 points at Ohio. What happens now you play Pittsburgh, who's given up 9 points to Duquesne and 17 against Central Michigan, which, again, the Chippewas scored 17. The Chippewas scored more against Pitt than they did against San Jose State. Again, situational games, though. It's just like, this is a game that Pittsburgh's going to be pumped up for. They are going to care. It's their rivalry game. And what does West Virginia have to get pumped up for? We just lost to Ohio. Parker Navarro shredded us. So why won't Eli Holstein shred us? And offensively, they're just so bad. They are. Nico Marchiol is not very good. Not a needle mover offensively. Running game's not one to be wowed at. They're just such a mid team and such a low tier Big 12 squad. And that's why I'm going to go with Pitt. All right, long are the days of Tavon Austin and Geno Smith, okay? Those have been way gone here at West Virginia. They're just not the same program anymore. I guess they still made a bowl game last year, didn't they? They went 6-6 last year. I'm just so down on WVU, man. How did they go 5-4 last year in the Big 12? They're just not good. I'm not sold on them at all. Pittsburgh will dominate the backyard brawl. I'm taking the Pitt Panthers to win this football game, -4.5 on the road. I don't think the game's all that competitive. Yes, the game was really close last year, and Pittsburgh was going on their big run to start the year last year. I don't even know if they're better than last year. I think West Virginia, though, is just a lot worse. You got to think of it from the perspective now of, okay, if they were to beat Ohio, right, West Virginia's 2-0 going in this game. The entire team's pumped. The city's pumped, right? Oh, okay, the university's pumped. We're going to get Pitt this year. This is our year to beat them. And now you're coming off a loss, and Pitt's undefeated. It's just, I don't like it. And you lost to them last year, too. Yeah. Give me the Pitt Panthers. I know it's a rivalry game, but I still think Pittsburgh goes on the road and beats West Virginia, -4.5. They will win the backyard brawl in 2025. We go on to our next game, and this is another one I mentioned earlier in the video. Why is Iowa State going to Jonesboro, Arkansas? Look, how did this happen? How did Arkansas pull this one off? I don't know, but here we are. Iowa State goes on the road to Arkansas State, where they will take on the Arkansas State Red Wolves. It is the second straight Power 4 team that Arkansas State has had to play. Week 1, they play Southeastern Missouri. Last week, they lose 56-14 to the Arkansas Razorbacks, in which Taylon Green scored 5 touchdowns. Now they get Iowa State in back-to-back games with Arkansas. Yikes. Iowa State played a low-scoring, competitive, defensive game last week against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Truthfully, though, that's the only way you can really beat Iowa. Unless you're, elite, that's how you're going to beat that squad. A field positioning game, a low-scoring game, and that's exactly what the Cyclones did. They found a way to win with Rocco Becht, okay? Good on them. They win the rivalry game. I thought they were going to do so, and they could. Iowa's inability of moving the football hurt them, and the Cyclones were able to pick up the victory. This is nothing but a tune-up game for Iowa State, right? Next week, 2 weeks, you get the start of their Big 12 play. They play Arizona, right, in 2 weeks. They're getting prepared for that, essentially, this week. And they only have to beat Arkansas State by 3 touchdowns? Sign me up. Sign me up. I get it. 2 of Iowa State's victories this year are by 3 points. But say what you want about K-State and how bad they are now and how they will probably lose this week to the Arizona Wildcats in Tucson. At the time, that was still a top 25 team, a team that Iowa State was underdogs against in Ireland in a weird circumstance, and they found a way to win by 3 points. They blow out South Dakota, who is a good team, a very good team in the FCS. They blow them out compared to what K-State did against a lower level, a mid-tier FCS squad in UND. And then they beat a Iowa team who's always been defensively great, a rivalry game, they find a way to win. I'm not telling you Iowa State's the best team in the Big 12. I don't think they are. I think they're probably, I don't even know if they're top 3. They're definitely not top 2. But they will have enough to beat the Red Wolves of Arkansas State this week, and they will cover. Right? Is Rocco Becht Taylon Green? No. Right? But they will be able to score. I've been a little disappointed with Jalen Raynor this season just because I don't know why Jalen Raynor went here. Or I don't know why Jalen Raynor, stayed here. Because he didn't have a bad 2024 with Arkansas State. They weren't horrible last year. I thought there was going to be a huge potential for him to go out elsewhere and leave, right? I mean, they won the 68 Ventures Bowl last year against Connor Bazelak and Harold Fannin in the Bowling Green Falcons, right? They went 7-5 in the regular season. I thought there were going to be spots for Jalen Raynor to play outside of Arkansas State. He stays, and it's like, all right, I don't get that move. I just don't, because I do think he's a good football player. It's just there's only so much he can do with this team. There's not much talent around him, is what I'm getting to. There's not many threats offensively. You don't really have a run game. Receiving core is not great, and Iowa State's defense is good enough. It's going to be a really tough night in the office for Jalen Raynor is what I'm getting at here. Iowa State is the better football team. They're coming off of a defensive, real, standoff against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Again, it's the Battle of Iowa. It's their rivalry game. They're going to go from that now to playing a Arkansas State team that's going to give up a lot of points. A team that Taylon Green obliterated last week for 5 touchdowns and 56 points. Again, is Iowa State Arkansas? Do they have the explosiveness of Arkansas? No, but I'd argue their defense is better. I'd argue it is. Hell, Iowa State, right? So this is a top 25 team. Iowa State right now is ranked 14th. They're a top 15 school. Yeah, they got to go on the road. I don't think going to Centennial Bank Stadium in Jonesboro, Arkansas is going to make all that much of a difference. I still think Iowa State puts BTA on Arkansas State, and I'm taking the Cyclones to cover 20.5 points on the road in Jonesboro. The only reason this line is that close is because the game's in Arkansas. Give me Iowa State to go out there and pick up the victory as we move on to our next game, as the SEC's Missouri hosts the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. My goodness, is Louisiana just so much worse than last year? They are. And yes, that's my takeaway from their 34-10 victory against McNeese. They couldn't move the ball against McNeese. At least, sorry, they couldn't throw the ball against McNeese. They ran it all day long. Bill Davis had 19 carries for 132 yards. Zylan Perry had 14 carries for 94 yards. Hell, Steven Blanco had 6 carries for 69 yards. If you can't throw the ball against an SEC school, it's not going to go well against you. It's not going to go well for you. I think Kansas is a good program. I think Kansas is a good school. They go to Missouri and they lose by 11 points. You know, Missouri's a 6.5 point favorite. They cover that line. Surprised. I thought Jalen Daniels was going to play a little bit better than he did. Couldn't get the ball going. Couldn't get it going on the ground. Passing wise, wasn't the best day for Jalen Daniels. Missouri wins at 42-31. Right, even though Kansas took a huge lead early, they're up 21-6. Mizzou comes storming back, wins at 42-31. So, it is what it is. I don't think Missouri's great. I think they're good. I don't think they're great. Don't get me wrong. The victory over Kansas is going to go a long way. Kansas is a pretty good school this year. Like, that was apparent, obviously, in their Week 0 game. And I think Kansas will see a lot of success in the Big 12, just like they did last season. I just think once Missouri plays other SEC schools, they are going to, they're going to have some trouble, right? For as kind of disappointing as last year was for them, considering all the talent they had, Brady Cook, who's with the Jets now, Luther Burden with the Bears, obviously, and Theo Weiss is with the Dolphins. Like, they had 3, NFL players. Obviously, Burden, one of the best receivers in college football last year. I know he couldn't stay healthy, but you had all that talent, and you win 9 games, I mean, that, on paper, should have been a playoff team. On paper, that's a team that should have pulled out one of those road games against A&M, Bama, or South Carolina and made the postseason. But ultimately, they fell short, and they won the Music City Bowl against Iowa. Awesome, right? Louisiana's just been bad so far this year. They beat, McNeese 34-10, but they couldn't throw the ball in McNeese. How are you going to beat Missouri on the road if you can't throw the football? Missouri's run defense is good enough. I mean, hell, right? Look at the lack of run game that Kansas had last week. Guys, Daniel Highshaw, the starting running back for Kansas last week, had 6 carries for 11 yards. Jalen Daniels, I get it, he's a quarterback. Not everything's a designed run in this, but Jalen Daniels has 10 carries for 17 yards. As a whole on Saturday, the Jayhawks had 19 carries for 28 yards against the Missouri Tigers. How are the Ragin' Cajuns going to be able to move the football? I don't know. And I'm pretty sure they have now, they've switched quarterbacks, right? Former Ole Miss quarterback Walker Howard is not getting starts anymore. Instead, it's Daniel Beal. They went with the freshman out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the redshirt freshman who was here with the Ragin' Cajuns last season in his first start with the squad against McNeese, 14 for 22 passing for 86 yards and a touchdown. Ooh, man. It's not a guy that's going to set them over the top and give them a legitimate chance to win against Mizzou, obviously. And with that being said, I think he's going to have so much problems on the road here against Missouri, man. 24.5 points is the line. I fully expect the Tigers to cover this. Give me Mizzou at home to cover against the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. It's just a crazy step back this team has taken from being a team that's in the Sun Belt Championship game with Ben Wooldridge, who's in the NFL, to now this, where they struggle just to move the ball at all offensively in terms of their pass game. So give me Missouri. Again, they don't have the elite weapons that they had last season. They still have enough good weapons. I don't think, again, they're not an elite elite team right now in the SEC, but they're good enough to beat, obviously, Louisiana and cover the points as well. Give me Missouri, minus 24.5 at home against the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. On to our next game. Before we get into the game of the week, we got to talk Texas and UTEP real quick. Maybe this is the game of the week, right? Texas versus Texas. El Paso versus Austin. Oh, what a game. Come on now. One hell of a football game. No. Texas El Paso goes on the road to take on Texas. Texas is a 41.5 point favorite, which I find a little bit interesting because last week they did not cover against San Jose State. They were 34.5 point favorites, 35.5, I believe that close. And SJSU covered. SJSU scores a touchdown. It's 38-7. They lose by 31 points. A win is a win for San Jose State, right? Malachi Nelson gets his big chance. Here it is. I'm telling you guys, this is more important. This is more than just a a beat down that, UTEP's getting paid to come to Austin to take. No, this is more than that, okay? To the point where Malachi Nelson now gets the open tryout, right? We talked about Malachi Nelson at length, right? Former USC 5-star, goes to Boise last year, cannot win the starting job from Maddox Madsen, has to go to UTEP, is in a close battle for the starting job at Texas El Paso, but barely finds a way to get the starting job and pry it away from their starter last year in Skylar Locklear. Here he is. Again, Malachi Nelson, the end goal is not UTEP. For as underwhelming as he has been, he's still trying to, again, advance himself, at least at the college football level. So you have to go a little bit further than UTEP to do so. He's trying to get back into Power 4. If he can just have a decent showing against the only Power 5 team he's going to likely play all year long, he puts himself in a position where maybe he will get that shot in the portal. Maybe. With that being said, that's why I'm taking El Paso to cover 41.5 points. It's a lot of points. If we can get it at 42, even better. I get it. Texas El Paso's defense is not that great. It's not at all. Guys, do we have confidence in Texas's offense to straight up just score 42 points? And if we get this at plus 42, more than 6 touchdowns? I don't think so. San Jose State's good. I think San Jose State's better than UTEP. They definitely are. But you only win that game by 31 points? Arch Manning has 4 touchdowns. Great. It's awesome. I mean, a lot of that Texas offense, though, is just kind of for me. Like, who is a game changer offensively for that squad other than Arch and Parker Livingstone? The run game is not wowing me right now. Like, you got CJ Baxter, you got Jarrett Gibson. You don't have that, that elite number 1 back like they had last year with Wisner. You don't got that anymore, right? It's a different squad. You don't have what you had with Jaden Blue. Obviously, he's with the Dallas Cowboys now, right? Wisner, right, did not play last week. Maybe he plays this week. Maybe he plays this week. Maybe, again, that's, and maybe that's, a playmaker you have. But what I'm getting to, last week, they didn't have a playmaker. I mean, against San Jose State, it's all a pass attack, right? Arch does his thing, but they only win the game by 31 points. If they don't have Wisner this week, well, again, how are you going to really just put it on UTEP? They'll win, but do we think this team can really score 6 touchdowns? And again, if it's plus 42, more than 6 touchdowns, I'm going to go no. I don't think they're going to. And essentially, guys, UTEP can put this one out of reach by scoring 2 touchdowns. If I'm UTEP here, I'm aiming to score twice. Okay, and I know they only scored 16 points against Utah State. I get it. Utah State, more on them later. Last week is what Malachi Nelson needed. Finally, a victory at the college football level. It was a victory against UT Martin. I don't care who it's against. He got his win. 42-17 at home in El Paso. Malachi Nelson throws for 4 touchdowns. That is the confidence booster he needs. I think he's going to parlay that into a somewhat competitive game at Texas. Don't know how competitive this game is going to be, but I think, again, if UTEP can just score, touchdown to field goal, 10 points, Texas is not scoring 52 points. Okay, trust me on that. Lions just too much here. Give me Texas El Paso to cover on the road. Obviously, the Longhorns will win. I just think UTEP's able to cover. As we move on now to the game of the week, Liberty versus Bowling Green. No, okay. South Florida versus Miami. I know, you can see the prediction. Miami minus 15.5 points. They're going to cover. Yep. They will cover 15.5. Guys, South Florida is a good football team. This is their, I can't say this is their Boise-Oregon game because Boise only lost to Oregon last year, by 7 points? Because I think South Florida is going to lose by 3 or 4 scores. I think so. I know this is going to be a very public play to go South Florida plus 15.5 points. I think this is a huge, it's just, guys, Miami to me is just on a whole other level this season, at least offensively. Look at what Carson Beck does last week against Bethune-Cookman. I get it's Bethune-Cookman, but Carson Beck was 22 for 24 passing for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's a reason now he's second in the Heisman race, right? Only behind Garrett Nussmeier for Louisiana State. And sure, they played Bethune-Cookman, but you can void any argument or any complaint you have about, it was just Bethune-Cookman by the fact, they beat Notre Dame 2 weeks ago. By the way, games in Miami. Going to Hard Rock and playing is extremely difficult, especially when Miami's good. Because now everybody's there. And it's That's Miami again is now the talk of the town once again in the city. Prime Miami football is back. Last 15 seasons, it's been, they're the Dallas Cowboys of college football. They get hyped up in the offseason, and they get into the regular season, they go 9-3 at best, right? No, Miami football is back again. It's back because of what Cam Ward did last year, and it's further back because of, it's back even more because of their spending in the offseason, their NIL checks, and the fact that they landed the best quarterback in the transfer portal in Carson Beck. Carson Beck goes from potentially playing for, a Michigan or Notre Dame to he's with the Canes now. And he gets to play in the most pass-friendly and quarterback-friendly offense in all of college football. They will put it on South Florida this week. I firmly believe that. Guys, we will see the difference between DJ Lagway and Carson Beck this week. Carson Beck is just on a different level. He's way more experienced than DJ Lagway, by the way. And you'll see him air it out against Southern Florida. The story's been great. And I still believe Southern Florida controls their own destiny to the postseason. Even if they lose to Miami, which I think they will probably lose by about 24 points. I think Miami, it'll be like a 17-point game going into the third quarter. Miami's going to put one more on them, and they'll win it by 24, give or take, okay? They still control their own path to the postseason. 11-1 with their only loss being Miami, who, in my opinion, is going to be a team that's going to have a bye in the playoffs, be undefeated, 13-0, ACC champions. Yeah, USF will still get in. Because which group of 5 teams is going to catch them? Unless someone goes undefeated and someone has an impressive undefeated run, like literally any team not named a CUSA squad, maybe. I don't know. If Texas State could beat Arizona State, then you can maybe put them in contention. But I don't think a group of 5 team all year long is going to be able to stack up 2 wins over Boise State and Florida in back-to-back weeks, especially. 2 ranked squads, especially an SEC school on the road. Rarely ever does a group of 5 do that, right? So we look at South Florida's schedule for the rest of the year. It's SC State next week, South Carolina State, FCS. Charlotte, North Texas on the road might be difficult, but they should win. FAU at home, Memphis on the road, UTSA at home, Navy on the road. Could be tough, but they should win. UAB on the road, and Rice at home. And then American Championship game, likely, in my opinion, against the Tulane Green Wave, who they will not see in the regular season. If you beat Tulane, you're in. And there's a chance Tulane versus South Florida at the end of the year is for a playoff spot. Just like how last year UNLV versus Boise was for a playoff spot, I believe that will probably be Tulane and South Florida this year. Who in the Mountain West is going to get there? Nobody. They're just not going to have a team that's good enough. Because Boise lost, San Jose's lost now, Fresno's lost, UNLV's going to lose eventually, don't get me wrong. Sun Belt, probably not. Texas State, maybe if they can keep winning, but I don't know. They play Arizona State this week. We'll get to that later at the end of the video. Southern Miss? No, not at all. Southern Miss lost the game already. Mississippi State, they can't get in. They're just not a team, right? The team's going to have to come out the American this year, in my opinion, right? MAC? No MAC team's getting the playoffs. Buffalo, if they can keep winning, but their defense isn't good enough. So there's just no team in the MAC that can get there. So it would have to be the American this year, I think. Unless the CUSA pulls one. I don't know. Probably not. Western Kentucky gets blown out last week at Toledo. So there's no team. It's going to be South Florida. They will get blown out this week, though, I think. Byron Brown's playing really good football right now. They win, obviously, 18-16 last week against Florida. Last second field goal, 20-yarder to win the football game. DJ Lagway does not have a good night. Does not have a good night. Carson Beck's going to have a good night, though, because Carson Beck is just that good. He is an elite quarterback, if not the best quarterback in all of college football. It's tough for this guy to not have a really good night. And the Miami defense is pretty solid, too. It's just South Florida hasn't seen the offense that Miami's got. They haven't seen a quarterback like Carson Beck is, and, well, there aren't any quarterbacks in college football better than Carson Beck. He is number 1 in my opinion. He is just that good, and he's in the perfect system. Guys, Miami scores 45 points last week, albeit against Bethune-Cookman, but they've already passed the Notre Dame test. They're going to pass the South Florida test as well, and they're going to make it look easy at the same exact time. I love everything the Hurricanes have got going this year, and as well, this is the biggest game ever played on the CW network. Playoff implications, we decide who the best team in Florida is right now, not next week with Miami versus Florida. I think we know how that game is going to go. This is for Florida supremacy, and it's going to be the Miami Hurricanes blowing out South Florida. I still think USF has a path to the playoffs that they might get, But guys, there's levels in this. Look at the recruits. Look at the transfers. It is so one-sided towards Miami. They are the better football team, and the Cinderella run will end right now for USF. But my goodness, what a difficult start to the season, but it's still a 12-1 year for them. Will get them into January in the playoffs. So give me Miami Hurricanes spread minus 15.5. They will cover against USF, even though, yes, the Bulls will be a very public play this week. On to our next game. We go to the other game of the week, right? This one's huge. Liberty versus Bowling Green. Okay, I'm going Bowling Green here. I'm going to go with Bowling Green. And I feel pretty good about this one. Again, you can probably maybe take the points at home like we did last week against Liberty. We with Jacksonville State. Shout out to the Gamecocks for coming through at home, not just winning, not just covering, but winning at home. So we got the plus money on the money line, and we obviously had the spread as well. This week, we're going to be taking Bowling Green to do the same exact thing. I think they win at home against Liberty here, guys. I don't know why Liberty gets such respect. They're not that good. Bowling Green's offense is not great, but guys, we didn't know how good Jack State's offense was going to be last week. Jack State was underwhelming in week number 1. They just played a very defensive battle on the road at Central Florida, and they couldn't score really at Central Florida. What happens last week? Well, Jacksonville State doesn't throw the ball because Gavin Wimsatt's their starting quarterback. They run it all over Liberty. Cam Cook, 29 carries, 195 yards. Gavin Wimsatt, 10 carries, 80 yards. Andrew Paul, 8 carries, 70 yards. They ran the ball up and down the field on Liberty. And guys, Ethan Vasco fills up the stat sheet too. But Ethan Vasco, he's not a difference maker at quarterback. He's a decent quarterback, I'll say, for the CUSA. He's not a difference maker at quarterback in the CUSA. So shout out to Jack State. Huge victory. Like we predicted, they beat Liberty in week number 1 of CUSA play. Now it's a non-con game for Liberty as they go on the road to take on the Bowling Green Falcons. And yes, Bowling Green's offense has not been the best so far in 2025. Right, 2 games played. Week 1, they win against Lafayette in a very mid game where their starting quarterback Drew Pine. Yes, Drew Pine is still playing college football. Started at Notre Dame in 2020, transfers to ASU in 2023, goes to Mizzou in 2024. Now here starting for the Bowling Green Falcons, replacing Connor Bazelak over here in Ohio. He was very stagnant, the offense has been very, very stagnant, and Drew Pine has just been very mid so far as the Bowling Green quarterback. I'm telling you, though, Liberty's defense is not very good. He did not play great against Lafayette, played a little bit better last week in Cincinnati. Like, Bowling Green did put up some points, and Drew Pine, 274 yards at Cincy. Sure, that's great. Liberty's defense is not good. I don't know why Liberty keeps getting this respect on the lines or with the books. I don't get it. They had respect all year long, too, last year, and we did go at them because, I didn't think it made sense. And we're going to continue to go after him. I have nothing against Liberty. I don't know why they're so respected on the lines. I just don't get it. If they're at home, maybe. But guys, next week Liberty hosts JMU. Ooh, we're probably going to fade Liberty again. So my point with all this being like, oh, Jack State's offense didn't look good in week 1 against UCF. Well, okay. Bowling Green's offense actually didn't look that bad against Cincinnati, but expected to look so much better against Liberty. Again, do we expect a lot out of Drew Pine? Probably not. I don't know what to expect out their run game with Cameron Petaway and Kadarius Roberts, but I think Bowling Green's going to be able to win this football game at home. It's a home game for them. They're getting 5.5 points, and I just don't trust Ethan Vasco to win football games for Liberty. They're not the same program without Caden Salter. They aren't. So I'm going to be going with Bowling Green money line at home plus 170. Shout out to Harold Fannin. Had one hell of a debut in the NFL just yesterday against the Cincinnati Bengals, and might be taking a Njoku spot. I don't know. Flacco loves Harold Fannin. Might need to pick up Fannin in fantasy. But I'm going Bowling Green to win this game at home, plus 170 and plus 5.5 on the spread as well. Next up, we go to the only other game starting at 2 o'clock this week, as the Nevada Wolfpack will be hosting the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders. Ain't this something? Nevada's an 8.5 point favorite to win a football game. And they probably will. And they probably will cover. Guys, they should have lost to Sac State last week. But they should have lost. This team had their backs up against the ropes. Sac State has the football, 2 minutes left, up by 4 points. There were no points scored in the second half, right? Sac State going into halftime is up 17-13 after Cardell Williams hits Ernest Campbell for a 75-yard touchdown. Okay, great, right? 17-13 essentially for, well, it is 17-13 for the Hornets. Going into halftime, a team that had lost in week number 1 to a very good FCS program, don't get me wrong, in the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, but a team that was 0-1, and a team, by the way, in Sac State who's getting just an embarrassment of riches in terms of funding with their NIL money and whatnot. Like, hell, look at their basketball program. Shaquille O'Neal is their general manager. They're getting crazy talent. They'll be good this year. Trust me, they're going to be really good, I think. We'll see. We'll see how they do in the Big West. Anyways, not in the Big West. Oh my goodness, I'm tripping. In the Big, nope, not the Big Sky. Oh my goodness. College basketball, come back to me. Anyways, they should have beaten Nevada. Easily should have beaten Nevada. They're going to the Pac-12 next year, but they should have beaten Nevada. They throw a pick last second, and Nevada takes it all the way back for a touchdown. So essentially, right, Nevada gets bailed. They win the football game. And they're 8.5 favorites against Middle Tennessee, which is kind of crazy because Middle Tennessee is, they're not good, but like, I don't know. Sac State's in the Big Sky for basketball. Yeah, I don't know why that lost my mind on that one. Middle Tennessee lost 34-14 to Austin, PA in week 1. And then they got blown out last week against Wisconsin by 32 points. Maybe Austin, PA is just not that bad. They only lost to Georgia by 22. But no, Middle Tennessee can't move the ball at all. They're just a bad offensive football team. And yeah, Nevada should have lost to an FCS school as well. But even if Sac State had lost, Nevada had lost to Sac State, I would be so down on them, but I would also be like, all right, like that is a very good program, at least right now it is, because they're spending a bunch of money compared to Middle Tennessee losing to Austin, PA and getting blown out against Austin, PA at home, right? Their quarterback's Nicholas Viato. Viato doesn't do much great stuff. I don't know. He's a game managing quarterback who doesn't really have a game to manage because they don't have a run game at all. It's a bottom of the barrel team. It is. When I talk about the worst teams in college football, yeah, we need to tack Middle Tennessee on there. I think I already have. Like Marshall, Missouri State, Middle Tennessee, UMass. Like these are the worst teams in college football. Kennesaw can kind of be there, but I don't know. They play Wake Forest kind of tight. It's just the bottom of the barrel in the CUSA it's the lowest level of FBS football, and it's not even close. I don't know if Middle Tennessee wins the game all year long. Even when they get Missouri State at home, I don't know if they win that one. They don't have an offense. Defensively, horrible. And I get it, Nevada is not a great team at all, right? You're playing Chuba Purdy at quarterback. I guess, Chuba Purdy's a dual threat. Awesome. Last game, threw for 144 yards, ran for 115 yards. But look at the struggles that offense goes through sometimes. Look at the second half. They couldn't score. Couldn't move the ball. Chuba Purdy throws 2 picks against Sac State. He did run for 115 yards in all fairness to him, but you're struggling and you barely beat Sac State and Reno. And there's a reason Chuba Purdy's a 6th-year senior, obviously. Been playing college football since 2020. I'm going Nevada to blow out Middle Tennessee just because Middle Tennessee is that bad. It should show you, again, levels to this. Like, I don't think highly of Nevada at all, but they should still be able to beat this crap team. It really just goes to show the levels of college football sometimes. Give me Nevada, the Nevada Wolfpack to win the game at home and cover the 8.5 points that they're getting at home if they need to cover at home. Yikes. Middle Tennessee's they're just so bottom of the barrel, trust me. Give me Nevada. Next up, we move to a very close odds-wise game. All right, let's go to Pitbull Stadium in Miami, Florida, as we've got the FAU Owls on the road against the FIU Panthers. Florida Atlantic versus Florida International. So, for some reason, FIU got a vote for the top 25 going into last week, just because someone wanted Penn State to play a ranked opponent. That's basically why that happened. Because this is an FIU team last year that went 4-8, right? They're not very good. FIU last week goes into Penn State and they get blown out, 34-0. They still have their same quarterback as last year, right? Keon Jenkins, he's back. Not much Jenkins can do. He's a talent, I'll give him that, but not much you can do on the road in Happy Valley, right? That's just one of the toughest places to go play, let alone for any team, let alone, again, a team out the CUSA. So FIU, right, 1-1 this year, a win in week 1 over Bethune-Cookman, and a loss 34-0 against Penn State. They take on the FAU Owls here in week number 3, and FAU starting quarterback Caden Vetkamp, obviously from Western Kentucky. Last week, a much better week for Vetkamp against the Rattlers of Florida A&M. Throws for 309 yards in a 56-14 victory for FAU, much better since their week 1 loss over in College Park, College Park, Maryland, against the Terrapins, losing that game 39-7. I'm shocked FAU's an underdog. I am absolutely shocked that they are. Last year, not like it means much, but last year these two teams did play, right? American versus USA matchup, and FAU wins the game in Boca Raton 38-20. I think I got fooled in that game, I'll be honest with you. I believe I messed up and picked the Panthers. I don't know why I did, but I did. I think I was just kind of sold a little bit on Keon Jenkins and how they beat Central Michigan the week before by 40-something points. I'm not going to get confused this time around. I'm not going to get fooled, all right? Florida Atlantic is going into FIU and winning the football game. All right. Caden Vetkamp, still a capable quarterback. I wasn't the most impressed with his game at Maryland just because he couldn't hold on to the football. He's throwing picks left and right. That's the confidence booster he needs, though, right? Going in there and just beating up on an FCS school, and FIU sometimes will look like an FCS school. They don't have a good their defense is their one saving grace. I'll give them that. They can't move the ball, though. And I've said that a lot in this video because, guys, there's just a lot of low-level college football teams. I'm just going to say it how it is. There's a lot of college football teams that can't score. FIU's on that list. They are definitely on that list. Keon Jenkins can play. There's just not a lot of talent around the guy. I think FAU should be able to get to score quite a bit in this one, though. Right? Again, I said the best part of FAU is their defense, sure. FAU, though, will see more scoring opportunities, I believe, than FIU. Just because, simply put, their offense is better. Right? Their offense is much better. Caden Vetkamp should have a day. Their best receiver, Easton Messer, isn't horrible either. He is a 5'9 junior out of Louisville, Kentucky, but he can move. He can play the slot pretty well. He came from WKU with Vetkamp, so again, a lot of familiarity with him. And that's all you need, right? A lot of WKU guys obviously came over from Bowling Green, Kentucky, over to Florida Atlantic because, again, that's just how college football works. You combine those two guys with Jamari Sands, who's their running back, who is a freshman or redshirt freshman or a sophomore this season, who can run it quite well too. It's just I don't know how FIU is going to be able to score more than 17 points. And I expect FAU to score probably 3 touchdowns at least in this game. And as well, again, there is no spread to cover here, right? We're not concerning ourselves with the spread. I would not play, again, if you want to bet on this game, which I might, honestly, I would not bet plus 2.5 for FAU. There's no reason to do that. Just take the money line at plus 105. Guys, we saw this game last year. I get it, different personnel, even though Keon Jenkins was the quarterback of FIU. FAU last year had, it's Fancher, right? Yeah, Cam Fancher's at UCF now, who's backing up at Central Florida now. But as a senior, why would you do that? I don't know. Go to places that you know you can play. It's neither here or there. Different personnel, sure, but FAU actually had an even worse year than FIU last year. Atlantic went 3-9. International went 4-8. And yet, when they played last year, Atlantic beat him 38-20. I get it. The game was in Boca Raton. Now it's in Miami. Not like FIU gets a big crowd. Okay. Give me the FAU Owls. They are the better football team, and they're the better coached football team, honestly, and they have the better quarterback, too, in Caden Vetkamp. I'm taking FAU. I know FAU's defense can be decent at times, but I think the Owls win this football game on the road in Miami at Pitbull Stadium. We move on now to our next game as we go to a banger of a matchup at 4 o'clock as we have the Ohio State Buckeyes taking on the Ohio Bobcats. I like quite a bit minus 33.5 here for Ohio State. Okay? I know Ohio State's not playing the best right now. Well, okay. We can't say that. They beat Grambling 70-0. The Texas game, again, defensive battle, it is what it is, right? Like, I'm still not sold on Julian Sayin. I think, right, obviously they put belt to ass on Grambling. I thought it was really funny throughout the entire week. I think everyone on TikTok was a Grambling State football player this week. I don't know. I'm sure someone actually on Grambling State made a TikTok about how they're preparing for week 2 against Ohio State, but I kept seeing everyone, oh, I can't wait for my game this week against Ohio State. It was hilarious. My point with all this being, like, yeah, Julian Sand looked good against Grambling State. There is a difference, though, playing Grambling in Ohio. There is, right? But at the end of the day, right, like, for as much as I've gone at Ohio State because they couldn't score in the Texas game, and I don't think Julian Sand's really ready for prime time, and I think Julian Sand is going to limit them from being an elite team in the Big Ten this season, they will go out and blow out Ohio. They will. They'll blow out the Ohio Bobcats. Parker Navarro last week, and just as a whole, Parker Navarro is a good quarterback. Guys, Parker Navarro did not play last week he did not deserve to win that football game last week. Did not play a great game. He can run, obviously, but guys, the mobile threat out of a MAC quarterback is not really going to be there in a Big Ten environment and atmosphere against a Big Ten defense. And oh, by the way, it's Ohio State. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I don't think that's going to go too well for Parker Navarro on the road this week. Okay, something's just telling me that. I don't know what it is. I have a feeling, okay? Also, he threw 3 picks, right? West Virginia's defense did a decent job. It's just the WVU offense couldn't score because they're just a bad offensive team. There's no other way to put it, right? So Ohio wins the game 17-10, but that's not entirely because of Navarro. Obviously, again, Navarro keeps them in every single game, but he fumbled too. It's just, I don't know, it wasn't a great game for Ohio, for Parker Navarro himself. Ohio wins it. You're not playing WVU anymore. You're playing a team that's got some of the most talent in all of college football. Sure, am I not sold on Julian Sand yet? No, I'm not. But I mean, just that running back room alone with, Peoples, Donaldson, Jackson, West. There's so many backs that can, be very effective against this Ohio defensive front. Jeremiah Smith, obviously, still an elite receiver in college football. Carnell Tate, pretty good receiver as well. Again, I think the jury is still out on Julian Sand. Undoubtedly, I believe it's still out. Despite that, I think this is an easy victory for Ohio State, and 33.5 points for me is not enough. Guys, you got to think about this from the perspective of Ohio State players too, okay? You, once a year, play a team that plays in your own state, right? Last year, it was Akron who came into Ohio State and played them. What happened? 52-6 in favor of Ohio State, right? Year before, it was Youngstown State, and they actually beat them by 28 points, which was something. But once a year, the year before was Toledo, and they dropped 77 points on Toledo, right? It's just a mindset thing, guys. We've got who coming into our building? I mean, it's Akron, Toledo, Youngstown, Ohio. Usually one of the MAC schools from Ohio is walking into Columbus, and you think that game is going to be competitive? There's a reason all of these high-level recruits and 5-stars are going to Columbus and not the University of Ohio Bobcats. Come on now. No, don't get me wrong. Ohio's produced some good talent. They have. Curtis Rourke, phenomenal quarterback, right? NFL quarterback from Ohio, obviously graduated from the University of Indiana. They do get talent. Parker Navarro, guys, there will be a spot next year for Parker Navarro if he can somehow, finesse his way to another year of college football, which I think he might be able to, okay? I don't know. Someone's telling me Parker Navarro can probably come back next season, okay? He will get a job in the Power 4 next year if he's able to finesse that. It is just a talent difference, guys. There's a difference in talent, and Ohio State will dominate Ohio. I don't care the Bobcats play WVU close. Again, there's a difference in talent there, too. You go from West Virginia, who is underwhelming, to Ohio State, okay? They're not going to do them like they did Grambling 70-0. Instead, they'll probably win the game, 56-0, 56-7. I'll give Ohio State a touchdown. Still, though, they are 33.5-point favorites. This line should really be at about 37.5. Give me the Ohio State Buckeyes to win at home in the shoe and cover against the Ohio Bobcats. Next up, we move to another Big Ten game. It's the Illinois Fighting Illini at home against the Western Michigan Broncos. Don't have much to say here, so I'm actually going to keep this one pretty short, honestly, because we have bigger fish to fry with Illinois in just a couple weeks' time. Actually, next week, it'll probably be the game I talk about the most. So I will be watching Illinois Western Michigan so I can critique this team as much as I want. I'll save my prediction for Indiana, Illinois next week. I'm not even going to jinx it at all. I'm not going to say anything. All right? I'm going to remain silent about Illinois versus Indiana. I will. I'll give you probably a 20-minute feature film on Indiana versus Illinois next week, okay? I'm going to remain silent about that. I think Illinois is a good football team. I don't think they're a great football team. Yes, they dominate Duke like we thought they were going to. Duke was closer in that game than you probably think they were. Luke Altmer's good. Give him a lot of credit. He's a good quarterback. They will dominate Western Michigan. I know we talked about Western Michigan a little bit earlier. Like, oh, okay, they played, Michigan State really close, and they played North Texas really close. Illinois is a better team than Michigan State by far. Michigan State's not close to the rankings like in Illinois, like in Indiana in the Big Ten. I just don't think Illinois. I forgot. Can't talk about Indiana. Don't want to do it yet. I'll save that to next week. How's Western Michigan going to score against Illinois? I don't know. They might score a couple touchdowns. I think Illinois' offense should respond. I don't think the Illinois defense is that great. I think just Duke's not very good offensively. I don't know why that game was even close. It's why I was like, yeah, Darian Mensah's good, but Duke doesn't run the football. So, just a pure passing attack's not going to be Illinois. Indiana can do both. Oh, whoops. We'll get to that in a couple weeks, guys. Again, next week, trust me, it's on. It's on with Illinois and Indiana, all right? We are locked in for that game in Bloomington next week. That is my game of the week next week, all right? For now, again, I'm gotta focus on the Sycamores, all right? Ooh, I'm concerned. Illinois will blow out Western Michigan. I don't even know who's playing quarterback for Western Michigan. They got Brock Lowry. They got Brady Jones. Is there a difference between the two? Brock Lowry can run, so I'd probably start Brock Lowry. Statistically, it's a little bit better of a passer, and he can run as well, so he's probably the better quarterback, but they play both. Other than Brock Lowry, I'd say Jalen Buckley, their running back's pretty solid. Their defense, yeah, they held Michigan State, but then they proceeded to get 33 dropped on them in overtime against North Texas by Drew Mestemaker and the guys. You're telling me Luke Altmer and this Illinois offense won't be able to score against them? Exactly. All right. Illinois will dominate. I don't want to spend too much time on this game because we will spend a lot of time next week on Illinois versus Indiana. Give me the Fighting Illini minus 20.5. Thank you for covering and winning at Duke last week. Indiana's going to take care. Whoops. Just wait till next week. All right, next up we go to the Southeastern Conference as the Arkansas Razorbacks go on the road to play the Ole Miss Rebels. Disappointing result from Ole Miss last week. I think I might need to take a step back on Austin Simmons, okay? I was singing the praises of Austin Simmons after week number 1. I thought the interception numbers were going to kind of figure itself out going forward. I know he threw 2 picks against Georgia State, but I was like, all right, I wasn't too concerned. Last week wasn't a great game for him. He played all right, but he didn't play great. Goes on the road, 13 for 24 passing. 13 completions, 234 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. It's not a great football game out of Austin Simmons. He's not Jackson Dart. He's the next guy up, obviously. And I think for a sophomore, I think he's good. He was a pretty high-level recruit coming out of high school. But I worry about Ole Miss passing right now. I do. Because that's what has brought them to the dance over the last couple of years, obviously, just because of Jackson Dart and because they had Trey Harris as well. I mean, that was the name of the game for the Ole Miss Rebels, right? Was that offense? Was the way that they're able to move the ball offensively through the air. You kind of have to change that now because you're pretty much a run-first team with Kuan Lacey, who's a good back. They really relied on him to beat Kentucky. 28 carries for 138 yards. And last week, right, Ole Miss falls behind early. They go down 10-0. Who gets them back in the game? The run game. Scores back-to-back touchdowns to go up 14-10. Anyways, ended up going into halftime 17-13. They were up by 10 with a minute to go. And Kentucky decided with 8 seconds to, we're going to cover the spread by kicking a field goal with 8 seconds left. I get it. I know why they did it. Lane Kiffin said it after the game, though. I know a lot of bettors weren't going to be happy, and I didn't put currency on Ole Miss. I thought about it, but obviously Kentucky was trying to kick the field goal so they could get the onside kick with 4 seconds. Right? You gotta have 2 scores anyway, so you might as well get the field goal first. Is obviously the mindset with that. Arkansas is a decent team, man. They are, and I get it. They're unproven because they've beat Alabama, A&M out the SWAC, and Arkansas State, obviously from the Sun Belt. Taylon Green so far so good. Taylon Green in 2 games, 560 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's a running talent as well. I mean, he's an athlete. 151 yards on the ground last week for Taylon Green, who is a senior now, who is expected, right, to be that good this year, right? Was former Boise quarterback, transfers to Arkansas, and he's been pretty solid so far, right? He was pretty good last year. I think this year's obviously the next step. I mean, hell, numbers aren't everything, but Taylon Green, last year threw for 15 touchdowns. That's his career high. And he started 3 seasons. He's already at 10 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks. Obviously, he had 5 of them last week. Arkansas is going to be competitive with Ole Miss this week. I don't care the game's in Mississippi. They will be close with the Rebels. Will they win it? Probably not. I think the run game out of Ole Miss is going to be good enough for them to take this game. But I do believe Arkansas will be competitive because of how Taylon Green plays, guys. Taylon Green's a really good, he's a great product, I think. He's a good quarterback. They've got some weapons. Mike Washington's a good running back. Omega Blake is decent. You've got pieces. The defense, not horrible either, sure. Unproven and untested. I 100% get that. They're playing Ole Miss this week, and they play nothing but inferior competition. This is their step up. They're 8.5-point dogs. That's too many points for me. Way too many points. I think Ole Miss ultimately wins the football game, but I do worry about their quarterback situation, guys. It's not Jackson Dart anymore, and it's very apparent Austin Simmons is not Jackson Dart. He does not hold on to the football. He makes too many stupid mistakes with the ball, throws into traffic, throws interceptions. That's going to hold them back in the long run. In this game, that's going to hold them back from covering. I think Ole Miss wins it, but I do worry about the Rebels going forward. Sure, again, last week, tough environment on the road at Kentucky. I get that. They will have a lot of trouble, I believe, next week against Tulane. I think they'll still win probably, but that's a game we'll get to. Again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Tulane's going to be going to be going into Oxford with a lot of momentum, and we'll see if they can get that next week. But I think Arkansas keeps it close. Taylor Green and the guys will play a competitive game at Ole Miss, and they will cover the 8.5 points against the Ole Miss Rebels. Next up, we go to the same exact spread, and I'm taking the same exact line here, plus 8.5 for the road team, the underdogs. That is the Old Dominion Monarchs. They go on the road to play Virginia Tech. I think they cover. I think they cover 8.5 points. Why should I be sold on Virginia Tech at all? They suck. They held South Carolina to a defensive game the first game they played of the year. I'll get to South Carolina later and how I'm not impressed with that team either. When you play a very competitive game with South Carolina early, but South Carolina eventually pull away. Neither of you could score. I thought, okay, well, week one, Kyron Drones literally could not get anything going over midfield. He was just a horrible quarterback once VTech got into plus territory. He completed one ball all game long after they crossed midfield. I was like, all right, week 2, it's going to be different against Vanderbilt. Well, Kyron Jones just wasn't good in week number 2 against Vanderbilt. He had 134 yards passing, and he gets outplayed by Diego Pavia in Vanderbilt. And, oh, by the way, Virginia Tech can't run the ball either. They got Vandy at home, and they lost. You were a minus 130 favorite on your own home field, and Vandy goes in there and embarrasses you. You're up 10-0, and you end up getting outscored 44-10 for the rest of the football game. That's a joke, all right? And it shows the level of where the ACC's at. There are some really good teams. Miami, SMU. I mean, is that it? You know, is that it out the ACC? And Clemson, no, they're not on that level. Really, it's just Miami and everybody else, but I will still put SMU in there, right? My point with all this being, ACC is not great, especially in the middle of the pack. Vandy is a supposed middle of the pack SEC school, and they go to VTech and they blow them out. All right. Again, we thought probably not another year of regression for the Southeastern Conference in 2025, right? ODU rolls into VTech. Guys, ODU is going to play this game close. Look how closely ODU played Indiana. Sure, weird game, right? ODU scores right off the break. First play of the game they score. First play from scrimmage they score against Indiana. And they score at the very end of the game to make it a 13-point loss in Bloomington against the Hoosiers. Last week, they blow out North Carolina Central from the MEAC, I believe. That's where NC State's from. Yes, NC Central. Yes, they're a MEAC team. That's great. That's awesome. Colton Joseph, man. He's a gamer. He is. Colton Joseph can move the football, right? Struggled in Indiana, threw 3 interceptions, but also ran for 180 yards in the process and a 78-yard rushing touchdown. Last week against North Carolina Central, 257 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns, 50 yards running. Is VTech ready for that? Are they? I don't think so. I mean, just for all of the pregame, not antics, but like for how much hype VTech gets pregame, right? Like, I mean, that stadium is rocking. You get Enter Sandman, and you show up, and this is what you do? Yeah, you get off to a hot start, you're up 10-0, and then you get 44-10 the rest of the way. It's just disappointing. It's just disappointing. And I think that's the easiest way to sum up Virginia Tech and describe Virginia Tech. A disappointing football team. Because that's what they are. Okay? Old Dominion's going to walk into Virginia Tech and play a close game. Okay? I thought, week 1 was just, VTech's defense is pretty good. If their offense can figure it out in week 2, they'll be better. No. What everything's told me between VTech, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt is that South Carolina is just not that good this season, at least not right now, other than their quarterback. And VTech just not good at all. They just played a team in South Carolina who's struggling as of now. We'll get to South Carolina in a little bit. They're playing Vanderbilt. This will all, figure itself out in a second here. I'm going ODU to cover on the road at Virginia. I don't think VTech's that great. I think VTech probably wins, but if anything, play plus 8.5 for Old Dominion. Next up, I love this play. We faded Georgia Southern 2 weeks ago against Fresno State. We saw that was an easy play at even money for the Fresno State Bulldogs at home against J.C. French and the Georgia Southern Eagles. And last week, we played Jacksonville State. Well, we played Jacksonville State the last 2 weeks. It was 2 of my favorite bets back-to-back weeks were Jacksonville State, and they are again for the 3rd straight week, by the way. We played them at UCF to cover. They did easily covered against Central Florida. And last week, we took their spread and money line at home against Liberty, which was crazy because, dude, Liberty was a 7.5-point favorite on the road at Jack State. do we not forget what Jack State was last year in the CUSA? Because apparently we have. Apparently, Gavin Wimsatt makes them that much worse. Sure, is he Tyler Huff? No, he's not. Tyler Huff, probably a better quarterback. Even though Gavin Wimsatt has played at a higher level, obviously, played at Rutgers, I get that, played at Kentucky. Tyler Huff's probably a better quarterback. But Gavin Wimsatt does not make them that much worse. Even like Gavin Wimsatt, I think they're competitive with Gavin Wimsatt. Look what Wimsatt has done so far. Again, is nothing but a game manager, but gives them the ability with a quarterback scramble, obviously in the quarterback run, like Tyler Huff did. Tyler Huff was the prime example of a dual threat quarterback at the group of 5 level. That's what Gavin Wimsatt can be as well. Look at their game last week. We talked about it earlier when we talked about Liberty. Wimsatt, 52 yards passing, 6 for 12 through the air. But on the ground, right? Wimsatt, 10 carries, 80 yards. Cam Cook, 30 carries, 29 carries, 195 yards. They are able to move the ball up and down the field on Liberty. Who just moved the ball up and down the field running wise against Georgia Southern? Fresno State. Fresno State couldn't throw the ball against Georgia Southern because E.J. Warner's like the biggest game manager I've ever seen, right? It's fine. What did Fresno do against Georgia Southern? They struggled throwing the ball in the first half. They said, second half, scrap that. We're running the ball the entire game. Bryson Donaldson, Rayshawn Luke, Elijah Gillum, he's kind of been benched still. It's fine. Donaldson and Rayshawn Luke run the ball up and down the field against Georgia Southern in the second half at Fresno in the Central Valley. Why can't Georgia Southern do the same exact thing? Or sorry, Jacksonville State do the same exact thing as Georgia Southern. Games at Georgia Southern, I don't care. I don't care. JC French, he's all right. I mean, sure, 2 tough matchups so far, Fresno State and USC. I don't really care. I think Jacksonville State's defense is actually pretty good. Look how much they held UCF. Ethan Vasco throws for 330 yards, sure, but he throws for 330 yards and 24 points. Jack State's a tough team to get a hold of and figure out. This might be your CUSA champions in 2025. I don't know. I mean, CUSA is a coin flip, legitimately. I still think Western Kentucky probably has a very good chance, even though they're coming off a loss to Toledo, a bad loss at the Glass Bowl to Tucker Gleason and the guys. But, yeah, who's to say Jack State's not going to go into Georgia Southern and completely dominate? I'm shocked we get this at plus money. This is one of my favorite bets of the week. We will be back talking about this later in the week for our best bets video. But plus 3.5 is great. They can lose by field goal and we still win. But I don't really even think Jack State's losing the game. I'm taking the Gamecocks for the 3rd consecutive week. Plus 135 is great value. Again, Georgia Southern can't stop the run. That's all Jacksonville State does. And if Wimsatt can hit one pass, then it opens up, what if they're throwing? And then, okay, here we go. We're going to shoot it up the middle. Yeah, this is great. I love this play. Jacksonville State on the road at Georgia Southern. They will win. Plus 135 is highway robbery for the Cocks. Give me the Gamecocks. Next up, we go to another game that I do like quite a bit. I know, again, these group of 5 games, but the Sun Belt versus Sun Belt, obviously. App State versus Southern Miss. So we get into the first Sun Belt Conference play game of the year. I think the only one of the week. I could be wrong, but I think it is the only one of the week. It's Appalachian State at Southern Miss. This is a pretty easy pick for me, Southern Miss. Yeah, it's really easy, actually. I don't know how they're an underdog. Just like how I don't know how Jack State's an underdog, I don't know how Southern Miss is an underdog at home. Last week wasn't a thrilling victory over Jackson State. I need to clarify that, obviously. They beat up on Jackson State, 38-20. Braylon Braxton, right, the former quarterback from Marshall, hell, everyone in this lineup, everyone in this roster is from Marshall, but comes over to Southern Miss, has a good game last week, 214 yards and 3 touchdowns. They've got a decent receiving core with Braylon Brown, with Elijah Metcalf, with Carl Chester, run game with Jeffrey Pittman, and that's kind of it. It's pretty decent. App State goes on the road here to take on Southern Miss, a team that has been very mid this season. I know they blew out Charlotte, but Charlotte's god-awful, and we know it, okay? Their quarterback, A.J. Swan, can sling it. I will give him that. And their running back, too, is not bad. And Rashad Duboyan. Their defense, though, not too sold on. Their defense, I'm not too sold on. I know, again, they held Lindenwood to 13 points, but that's Lindenwood, and Charlotte has a bad offense, too. I think when they play better offenses, they're going to really struggle, and that's exactly what we get this week with Southern Miss. Guys, they got to play Southern Miss, Boise State, and Oregon State in 3 straight weeks. And I get it, Oregon State, I crapped all over them, but, okay, their special team sucks. They can still move the football. So, I think App State's going to really struggle here because they have not been tested defensively, and they've been able to get their way in both the games that they played. And they've totaled a bunch of yards in the 2 games that they've played. They just haven't been able to convert when it matters in plus territory just yet. As they were a 29.5-point favorite last week against the Lindenwood Lions, and they only score 20 points and win the game by 7. As they couldn't convert in 4th down ever. They couldn't, again, convert when it mattered. So many missed opportunities for App State. Drives that would end in interceptions. It's just the inability to punch things in, or it's the inability to convert when it matters. It's the defensive lack of challenge just yet, because they're going to get a challenge this week against the Golden Eagles. And it's a conference game too. It's just different. It's just different in conference games in college football. Also, by the way, Southern Miss has seen this team before. App State has, in all fairness, too, but the turnover that Southern Miss has, at least in the Sun Belt, well, all these guys were at Marshall last year. You know, like they are familiar with Sun Belt games. You got some guys at App State who have never played Sun Belt games before. I understand, again, App State and Southern Miss didn't play last year. They played 2 years ago, though, right? App State beat them on the road in App State. At Southern Miss this time, I'm taking the Eagles. Well, actually, wait. Southern Miss didn't play App State last year. I believe, did Marshall play them last year? They did. Yeah, Marshall beat them 52-37. And Joey Aguilar threw for 293 yards, and they still lost. Yeah, Braylon Braxton is 1-0. He's undefeated against Appalachian State. He did not have that great of a game last time around. Only threw 14 balls, but ran for 140 on the ground against App State. Yeah, I'm going Marshall here. Southern Miss, same thing. They're the same program, okay? Well, even though Marshall's they're still out there. They're still playing. Yeah, give me Southern Miss to win this game at home. Minus 105 is a great line. They are underdogs, and they shouldn't be, okay? They're at home, and I think they are the better overall team. And Marshall, who is Southern Miss, beat Appalachian State last season. Give me the Southern Miss Golden Eagles to win at home against Appalachian State, minus 105. Next up, we go to one of the bigger games of the week. But is it really? Because I think we know who's going to win. Louisiana State hosts Florida. Louisiana State will beat Florida, and they will blow them out. Okay? The line is what, 6.5, 9.5. Opened at 6.5, quickly moved to 9.5 for really good reason, right? Louisiana State is much better than the Florida Gators. Florida is coming off of their L last week to Southern Florida, and now you got to go on the road to Baton Rouge against Louisiana State, who did not look very good against Louisiana Tech. Really weird. La Tech's so bottom of the barrel, and they scored 23 points on La Tech. Sure, La Tech couldn't score either because they're a horrible offensive football team and couldn't score until the 4th quarter. But, yeah, really weird. LSU, Newsmeyer doesn't have a great game. That's why I don't know why he's the Heisman favorite right now over Carson Beck. But, yeah, just a disappointing night for Louisiana State. They win, but not the domination that I thought it was going to be. Whatever. You know they're going to be locked in for this game. You got to also consider, too, right? Like, if you're Louisiana State, you're looking at your schedule. Okay, week 1, we get Clemson, right? Big game. If we can beat Clemson immediately, now we are at the top of every, title challenger or, national championship, contender list, right? And then, okay, we have to lock back in for a La Tech game at home before we play Florida. You're not going to get up for that. This is the game that Louisiana Tech is waiting for all year long. If you're on La Tech, you have this game, not those Tuesday night CUSA games. You have, LSU circled on your schedule, and you're waiting for it. You're counting the days. And the fact that La Tech only lost by 16 points is a great victory for them, right, at Louisiana State. For Louisiana State, this is just another game before we got to get to Florida, right? So they'll be locked in this week. And there's going to be a lot of things to exploit, I believe, this week for Louisiana State against Florida. And I hate to be harsh here, but DJ Lagway is a weakness right now for the Florida Gators. Not to say he's not going to be this week, right? Like, I think Lagway, I still think he's a good talent. My goodness, was last week bad though. Couldn't make a play when it mattered. Couldn't put away South Florida in that game. In fact, they had to come back from behind and take the lead. They got another drive at the end of the game. Could not put them away. Guys, Florida gets the football back, okay? Florida gets the ball back from USF. This is how this game goes. 4th quarter, Florida scores a touchdown, right? USF gets the ball back, they punt. They go 3 and out. Florida gets the ball back. 1 first down, drives over. USF gets the ball back. Field goal to potentially take the lead with like 4 minutes left to go. They miss a 58-yarder. USF thinks this is our chance. We got to take it. 58-yard field goal. They miss it. Florida gets the ball back 2 minutes and 50 seconds. I'll be honest. I kind of stopped paying attention to the game when that happened because there was a lot of stuff going on in college football. I was like, all right, okay, great. Florida's won it. Like, I stopped paying attention to this. What does Florida do? They try throwing the ball on first down. Nothing's going. Second down, they get 2 yards on second down. And then, okay, third and 8, DJ Lagway put the ball in his hands. If they convert here, they're going to win the football game. Incomplete pass. You can't put away USF at home at midfield. So now you got to punt to USF, and USF goes 80 yards essentially to kick the game-winning field goal. Wow. I know Lagway's young; he's only a sophomore, but man, really? And just as a whole, the entire game was so disappointing. Like nothing was really going on for that football team. You know, a real disappointing night. Lagway was a passing touchdown in the fourth quarter that took the lead, but man, it just, oh goodness. Now you got to take on Louisiana State. It's just not going to go well. It's just not. It will not go well in this game for Florida. I think they're going to get dominated. Louisiana State, if the Louisiana State defense that shows up, well, if the Louisiana State defense that showed up for the first 2 weeks of the season shows up in this game, Florida might score 7 points. I mean, Clemson scored 10 points. Cade Klubnik, okay, I don't know what to think of Cade Klubnik right now. And they can't run the ball. Clemson can't. And Florida kind of can, right? They've got Baugh, who had 18 carries for 93 yards, Jaden Baugh, last week. A guy that they're going to force feed, by the way, because they don't have confidence right now in DJ Lagway. Not at all. They're going to, all right, go run that football. That's all we don't have much else, right? If the Louisiana State that shows up in the first 2 weeks of the season, especially one against Clemson, shows up, at least defensively, yeah, Florida's not going to be able to score, and then it'll just be dependent on if Louisiana State can score points. Louisiana State will be able to score, okay. USF, I know they weren't great offensively against Florida, but that's Southern Florida. This is Louisiana State football. An offense that has the quarterback who is the favorite right now to win the Heisman Trophy. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy, but right now, again, according to Vegas, he is the favorite. There's a reason for that. Nussmeier can launch it. Not a great game last week against La Tech. 237 yards on 26 for 41 passing with 1 touchdown. That's not a great statistical night. I understand. However, big-time players step up in big-time games. I know Nussmeier hasn't been the best in terms of this season yet, in terms of statistically speaking, but hey, his team's done nothing but win, and Nussmeier has put them in positions to win. He will put them in a position to win this week as well, and I think potentially he's going to be the deciding factor this week. In terms of, he's going to be the one that puts them over the edge this week, all right? I'm going to be taking the Louisiana State Tigers to win at home against the Florida Gators. Can't take Florida after their embarrassment last week, and I cannot trust DJ Lagway after what he did last week either. Is he going to be better? Yes. Is he only a sophomore? Yes. But no, I got to go with the Tigers at home in Baton Rouge. I'm taking Louisiana State to win, and I'm taking them to cover 9.5 points as well. They only got to win the game by double digits. Yeah, I expect them to 100% do that. I firmly believe LSU's winning and covering at home. Next up, we go to another one of the biggest games of the week, right? We talked about the big 3 games at the start of the video, right? The Battle of Florida. Miami versus Southern Florida. Huge football game, right? We then, obviously we've got another big game right here. We've got Notre Dame and Texas A&M on NBC. Yes, it's Notre Dame game. On NBC, huge game, right? And then also we've got Georgia, Tennessee early in the day, right? These are the 3 big games in week 3 for college football. Can Notre Dame bounce back after their week 1 out? Can they? Right? I think the second half has to be a huge plus for Notre Dame. And I don't know if I said this in the video when I picked Miami, but I've definitely been thinking it. I still think Notre Dame's going to the playoffs. They're going to be 11-1, and they're going to get in as an at-large. Well, they have to get in as an at-large. They can't win the independent division. They can't just play... they can't just play UConn for the who's the best independent trophy, right? This is still an at-large team for me. Who else do they lose to on the schedule? The biggest game that they play for the rest of the year now, before the postseason, is right now against Texas A&M. It is. The rest of the schedule, Purdue, they'll win. Arkansas on the road, maybe, but I still expect them to beat Arkansas. I think Arkansas is good, but I think that's a game Notre Dame will probably still win. Boise at home, they'll win. NC State at home, win. USC maybe, but the game's in South Bend. Boston College on the road, no. Navy, easy win. Pitt on the road might be difficult, but I'll take Notre Dame. Syracuse at home, I'll take Notre Dame. And then at Stanford, that's going to be a 70-point blowout, right? Jeremiah Love might run for 350 yards, right? CJ Carr is going to have the greatest game of his career, right? I do think, though, the second half against Miami has to be somewhat of a confidence booster for Notre Dame. Because if that game went into overtime, I was concerned Notre Dame was going to win it. For as much as I'm high on Miami, Ooh. When Notre Dame scored the CJ Carr touchdown to tie the game before the, Carson Beck game-winning drive in the fourth quarter, I was getting concerned. And I was like, all right, well, if Notre Dame's able to kick a field goal here, this offense is seeing a lot of success. Their offensive line is moving the football, or at least they're moving that Miami front line. CJ Carr's running. You still got Jeremiah Love. It's going to be difficult for Miami to deal with in overtime. No, Miami's able to get the field goal. Miami's able to get that stop, obviously, with Notre Dame with no timeouts to end the game in the final drive of the game with a minute to go. Okay, but still, I think that end of the game has to be a little bit inspiring for the Fighting Irish. I think it has to be. CJ Carr, in his first ever start, goes to Miami and plays all right. Not great, but he plays all right. I think in terms of play calling for Notre Dame, they need to be better. I think they do, okay? I don't understand the whole not handing the ball off thing. I know they ran it 28 times. Guys, Jeremiah Love needs to get more than 10 touches a game, though. Darion Price got a lot of touches, and you ran the ball out at CJ Carr. You need to run it a lot more. There's no reason you keep running that same that same, what do you want to call it? Same smoke screen route, we can call it. Where off the ball, okay, we're going to, CJ Carr's going to snap it, and we're going to immediately throw to the receiver. We're going to immediately throw that little smoke screen. Eventually, Miami's going to pick up on it. Eventually, Miami got the interception. That changed the game, right? Well, a lot of things changed that game. CJ Carr's also not Riley Leonard, where he can't always do that. Notre Dame, the quarterback blast. Like, he's not on the Riley Leonard level of good. He did it all right in the fourth quarter, but that's not a guy, again, a lot of those plays when they're calling for CJ Carr, get 4 yards. Okay, he'll get 3, but Riley Leonard would have got 6 on the quarterback blast. It's just not the same quarterback. You need to rely on what got you to the dance and got you to what won you the game last year at Kyle Field, Jeremiah Love. I mean, remember that run that Jeremiah Love had to win the game at Kyle Field last year? I mean, if you look, the run Jeremiah Love has, the gap that he squeezes through the offensive line to score that touchdown in the fourth quarter, there's no room. Jeremiah Love finds a way, gets through, scores a touchdown. They just need to go to him more. They've got weapons, don't get me wrong, right? They got Darion Price, you got Jeremiah Love. Your receiving core, I think, Jordan Faison's going to be pretty good. Had a decent game. Go to your tight end quite a bit. Eli Readrian, 6'7" senior from Des Moines, Iowa, who a little slow, but it's okay. I don't know. I think they should beat. I think they'll beat A&M. I think they will. They beat them last year at A&M. Texas A&M so far this year. Marcel Reed's obviously a quarterback now. Reed's a good talent, don't get me wrong. Sophomore quarterback is only going to continue to improve, and that's going to give Notre Dame troubles, I believe. That's why I think A&M's going to cover, right? I was talking about this game like, who do I think is going to win? Because I do think it's that close, and that's why, again, I'm talking about it like this. That's why I think A&M's going to cover in terms of the win. It's close for me. I think Notre Dame is going to find a way just because of how A&M plays defensively. They give up points, right? 24 points to UTSA, 22 points to Utah State and Bryson Barnes. Marcel Reed's a talent, but Notre Dame should be able to score. And I think, again, just some tweaks need to be made offensively in terms of, all right, look at your personnel. Who do you have? Need to be better in terms of calling a game plan and calling a game better equipped for CJ Carr, and not a Riley Leonard game plan or a Sam Hartman game plan that you have for the last 2 seasons, right? Obviously, 2 very different game plans in Hartman and Leonard. But I'm going to be going with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to win at home against Texas A&M. However, I believe A&M is going to cover 6.5 points. I think it's too much. I think this is a game that's going to be won by a field goal, and Notre Dame is going to edge out at the very end. I'm taking the Fighting Irish to win this game at home, but I'm taking the Texas A&M Aggies to go into South Bend and cover. Again, though, Notre Dame wins this, they're still probably going to the postseason. We shall see. On to our next game, we go to Kroger Field in Lexington, Kentucky, as we have the Kentucky Wildcats hosting the Eastern Michigan Eagles. Boy, is Eastern Michigan bad. Oh, man, on their gray field at home, losing to LIU Brooklyn. Disappointment, man. I was expecting more to Noah Kim, not going to lie, right? Former Michigan State quarterback, transfers to Coastal Carolina last year. Starter at the end of the Michigan State season in 23. Doesn't really get to play at Coastal. Now gets to play at EMU. It hasn't been his fault entirely because the fact that their defense can't really get stops and they don't run the football that well. But man, is this team horrible. You lose to LIU Brooklyn. I mean, I forgot LIU Brooklyn even had a football team, man. like before they played Florida in week 1. Like, it's just, man, dude, just brutal. You lost to an NEC school. Oh, God. That's just bad. That's a really bad loss. Not to mention their week 1 loss was really bad too. You go to Texas State and, you get 52 points put on you by Brad Jackson, who's a monster out of the Sun Belt. Again, has it been Noah Kim's fault? Not really, honestly. They're just really bad everywhere else. There's not much Noah Kim can do. I'm not going to try to sell you that Noah Kim's an elite talent. I think he's decent, though. I don't think that's their main reason for losing. It's definitely not him. They got to go to Kentucky? Oh, goodness. Kentucky, their pass game still leaves a lot to be desired. Don't get me wrong. Like, Zach Calzada, obviously coming back from Incarnate Word, back to the FBS level, to the SEC level, is something, right? He goes 15 for 30 throwing the football in that big game last week in Lexington against Ole Miss for 150 yards, right? The ground game is where Kentucky got a lot of their yards and obviously got a lot of their push, right? Seth McGowan, 15 carries for 93 yards. Dante Dowdle, 14 carries for 56 yards. That's where Kentucky's going to be best off. I mean, here's the thing, though. This week can be an experimental week, though, for Kentucky, because, like, you can let Calzada try to air it out a little bit. Not like you're too concerned about this EMU secondary, and even, if you turn the ball over against Eastern Michigan, what are they going to do? They're not going to score, probably, right? They're going to throw the ball. They're going to run the ball for 1 yard, and they're going to try to throw it 2 times, and you know what's coming at that point, right? Last week, guys, the Long Island University Sharks, LU Brooklyn, 231 yards on the ground. Their starting running back, Ethan Greenwood, 7 carries, 91 yards. Luca Stanzani, 10 carries, 67 yards. Holy crap, man. Cam Ingram, 13 carries, 26 yards. Damn. 5'5" running back. Wow. So if Kentucky wants to run the ball, though, it will be there. McGowan, Dowdle, they want to try, okay, let's air it out a little bit with Calzada. It's going to be there too, right? Kentucky loses last week at Ole Miss. It is what it is. You lose your first SEC game. That's a good team in Ole Miss, right? I'm not the highest anymore on Austin Simmons after 1 week. But, again, jury's still out on him. It's just, man, you're playing such a bad team this week who just lost to an FCS school, and you're a 25.5-point favorite. Kentucky, it's going to be all a matter of if they can score points. Because I don't think EMU is going to score more than 14. 14. So can Kentucky get into, the 40s? Probably. The way that EMU has played everybody defensively, Kentucky should be able to score that many points. Over-under is 45.5. I think the over is going to hit. I get it. Kentucky's a run-heavy team, but they should be able to run all over Eastern Michigan in this game. And to the point where, okay, the clock's not going to matter because they're not bleeding the clock. They're running, that clock's running up until they get into the end zone. So give me Kentucky to win the football game, obviously, and I will take them to cover 25.5 points too. Eastern Michigan, one of the worst teams in college football this season. There's a lot of them, but yeah, Eastern Michigan is on that list of some of the worst in the game right now. Okay, on to our next one. Yeah, maybe the worst team in college football. Here they are. UMass. Woo. UMass Minutemen. Massachusetts goes on the road to take on Iowa. Yes, I'm going to hold a grudge on UMass all year long because of their stinker in week 1 against Temple. I don't care, okay? I didn't put that much money on UMass, but I was so pissed watching that football game. They looked so good early, and then everything fell apart. And then last week, you lose to Bryant? You lose to the Bryant Bulldogs in your own home field. Are we serious? Are we serious? Guys, okay, here's the deal with this. UMass not scoring. They're not scoring at all. So 34.5. Can Iowa score 35 points? Ooh, that's kind of a tough line. They will score 35, though. Because UMass can't tackle. They have no defense. Iowa, for as bad as they are offensively, they can still run the ball. Xavier Williams and Patterson are going to have days. Even Terrell Washington, too. Hell, Mark Gronowski, their starting quarterback, will be able to run all day, too, okay? They just need to run for 5 touchdowns this game. Easily, they will do so. UMass is not scoring against this defense, okay? That's the one thing, if you can count on Iowa to do literally anything, it's to shut teams down defensively. And that's why they don't win football games, obviously, because their offense is so bad. What if everyone just pooled in, like everyone in the state of Iowa, just pooled in money for Iowa to bring in the best offensive talent in the transfer portal every single year? And Iowa just became the best program in the country. They say defense wins championships. Well, this team has produced monsters defensively. And except for tight ends, they don't really produce anything. Well, tight ends and running backs. But just they don't have good receivers and quarterbacks, really, is what it is. Like, what if in the offseason they, like, hear me out. What if they, like, pay off Parker Navarro to play his 6th year, his 5th year. And they get, 3 really good receivers from the group of 5 and maybe like 1 really good like bounce back from, I don't know, Clemson or Louisiana State. And Iowa just becomes the best team in college football. Like, what if that happens? I don't know. Just a thought. And they're not starting, Gronowski or Cade McNamara like they were last season. Or Buddy, who's on, I'm totally blanking on Buddy's name. Buddy who's backing up Retzlaff and Tulane right now. Like, it's just, I don't understand. Guys, Iowa, okay, they will score 35 points. Again, their running back situation, is it Caleb Johnson? No. But still, Xavier Williams, Patterson, and Washington will be able to run the ball fairly well. UMass won't score. I was a little bit intrigued of what Brandon Rose could do at the beginning of the season. Well, Rose gets sat in week 2 for Grant Jordan. Okay. Grant Jordan's a senior out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Played at Yale last season. Actually was pretty good for Yale. Last week he comes in and loses and throws a pick to the Bryant Bulldogs from the FCS level. Don't care who starts. UMass can't throw the ball, they can't run the ball, and they can't stop the run. Look how many rushing yards Temple had on them. Holy crap. They can't stop a run at all. And you're going to play Iowa, and that's all that they do is run the ball down your throat? And oh, by the way, you can't score anyway? Oh, man. Yeah, this is going to be brutal. Iowa probably wins 42-0 is my guess. 42-0 is the prediction for the Iowa Hawkeyes to win. The money line isn't even offered. That's how big of a blowout it's going to be. Iowa wins by that much, and UMass is legitimately just that horrible. They gear up for their game next week at Missouri. Why? Oh, that's going to be even worse. Oh, that's going to be... Actually, stylistically, it might not be worse, but... Next up, Conference USA football. Oh, we're so back. I can't wait for games like this to be on a Wednesday night on CBS Sports Network, or ESPN, I think, got these games this year, right? New Mexico State Aggies. Hey, a team that actually beat Bryant, right? Bryant loses last week to UMass. Who does Bryant lose to in week 1? The Aggies of New Mexico State from Las Cruces, New Mexico. And New Mexico, with Logan Fife last week, beats Tulsa. Shocker, right? Logan Fife on stop number 4 in college football. Stop number 3. I actually, once upon a time, watched Logan Fife play football live against San Jose State back in my day. Back in 2022, I watched Logan Fife play football when Jake Hayner was injured. Fife last year at Montana. Now here he is at New Mexico State. Good for bro, I guess. The Aggies beat Tulsa last week. Kind of a shocker. They don't run the ball at all. They don't. They can't run the ball. Logan Fife last week was their leading rusher. 12 carries for 28 yards. Their starting running back, Dejon Stanley, had 5 carries for 8 yards. It's not a good rushing team. They go on the road to play La Tech, a La Tech team that, was competitive against LSU last week. Again, you heard my slight theory on that. Louisiana State's purely just looking over that team. Nobody cared. Props to La Tech, right? Again, that's the game that they circled on their schedule. That is the biggest win La Tech could have possibly gotten at Louisiana State. Other than potentially winning that football game, playing LSU that close in Baton Rouge is a monumental victory for the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. 100%. Credit to those guys, right? I don't think they're that good, though. I think it's a great time to jump on a sell spot here, a sell high spot on La Tech. La Tech should not be a 9.5-point favorite. Watched them play last year. I've watched them play this year. They still can't move the ball offensively. I get it. Oh, they played LSU. They scored 24 points against Southeastern Louisiana from the FCS, from the Southland Conference, I think. Come on now. This team was so horrible last year. They somehow made a bowl game because they have the highest academic GPA or whatnot out of all the 5 and 7 schools. So they got to play a bowl game against ranked Army where they got blown out. Could barely move the football at all in that game. So they went to 5-8 last year with a loss in the Independence Bowl. I don't know, man. They're getting too much respect on the lines. Their starting quarterback is Trey Kulik. Evan Bullock, their quarterback last year, is still around. I believe he's injured because I'll be honest, I haven't dug that deep into La Tech football this season. I think I probably will later on in the year when they play on Wednesday night because that's when we'll really be locking into La Tech football. Because let's be honest, guys, out of all the games this week, I'm not going to be watching New Mexico State and La Tech. Okay, I'm just not. I'll keep an eye on it, but Duke plays Tulane at the same exact time. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So I don't know entirely what's going on there, but I don't like it. I think Trey Kulik is worse. I don't think La Tech should be favored to beat anybody by this many points. I get it. They're at home. It's in wherever La Tech is in Louisiana. It's in Ruston, Louisiana. Not like they get that big of a attendance anyway. I've seen the Wednesday night games before. Logan Fife's a veteran quarterback. I know they can't run the ball, but this should be a low-scoring affair. You guys, this is classic USA football. We talk about, the Big Ten having low-scoring games with the Iowas of the world, with the Northwesterns of the world, and Purdue, right? They just have the low-scoring, non-offense games. Well, the CUSA puts games in like that every single week, all right? And this is one of these, all right? Always take the underdog in really low-scoring games. We learned that in week 0 with Jack State and with Miami of Ohio, okay? In a low-scoring game, take the underdog because there's not going to be that many points scored, and it lowers the expectation and lowers the standard for, the Aggies got to score 10 points this week, and if La Tech's only scoring 13 or 17, we still cover. La Tech should not be a 9.5 point favorite against anybody. They probably won't beat any FBS school this year by more than 10 points, I don't think. I'm taking the New Mexico State Aggies to go on the road and cover 9.5. Will La Tech win? Probably. Don't care. Moving on. Next up, we go to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, as the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers host the East Carolina Pirates. The Chants are 6.5 point dogs on their own home turf in this game for good reason. They're going to get blown out this week, okay? I know East Carolina week 1 lost to NC State, and NC State I'm not the highest on, even though we picked them in week 1, obviously, or week 1, in the first game of this video, which was 3 hours ago. So shout out to you if you're still watching. I truly appreciate it. East Carolina, though, has Caden Hauser, who is one of the better quarterbacks in the American Conference. There's some really good quarterbacks, Byron Brown, Jake Retzlaff, right? Caden Hauser's right there, too, though. Caden Hauser can sling it, right? A guy who used to play at Michigan State. Michigan State. Now at ECU. He's a senior now out of Anaheim, California. He's putting up numbers, right? He slinged it all of last year. He's going to keep slinging it this year. The pass-heavy approach out of East Carolina is going to be so difficult for Coastal Carolina. Guys, Coastal won last week 13-0 over Charleston Southern. The Buccaneers of Charleston Southern. Coastal won by 13 points. It was 3-0 going into the fourth quarter. Same Charleston Southern team that lost 45-3 against Vandy. I get it, Vandy's good. We're going to talk about them coming up really soon. Actually, the next game. But, really? MJ Morris gets benched at halftime. He threw 3 interceptions in the first half against FCS Charleston Southern. So they go to Tad Hudson, the sophomore out of Huntersville, North Carolina. Was with Coastal last season. Lost the position battle in the offseason. Emmett Brown is obviously the projected starter, but Emmett Brown has a bad injury. Probably never going to play football ever again, which really sucks, and I blame San Jose State for that. Like, damn you for choosing Walker Agette over him. Just ridiculous. I don't understand. Emmett Brown was so much better, and he's still a better player, but it's okay. Coastal can't move the ball. I don't care. Oh, Tad Hudson, they scored a little bit with Tad Hudson. They scored 10 points with Tad Hudson at quarterback in 2 quarters. And it was enough to win. You were a 27.5 point favorite, but that's brutal. East Carolina last week did what you're supposed to do against an FCS school. They welcomed in the Campbell Fighting Camels, and East Carolina wins the football game by 53 points. 56-3, and Caden Hauser threw for 314 yards. Again, the difference. East Carolina, that game is over in the second quarter. Coastal Carolina is up 3-0 in the fourth quarter against Charleston Southern. That alone tells me who I need to pick, okay? If you're playing a team in the CAA that close, actually no, it's Charleston Southern's on the CAA. They're in the OVC. If you're playing a team in the OVC that close, come on now. That's ridiculous. Bad offensive football team. I don't know what happened to Coastal Carolina. They were pretty good a couple years ago. They have just fallen off as a program, and they keep losing in the transfer portal, and they're going to lose all right this week, and they're going to lose by more than a touchdown at home by to Caden Hauser and the Eastern Carolina Buccaneers. Pirates. Next up, we move on to a Southeastern Conference matchup. The Vanderbilt Commodores go on the road to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks, and I am going with South Carolina to win, but by far the best play in this game is Vandy spread. I'm really close in the victory. Again, like Notre Dame, Texas A&M, I sided with the Fighting Irish. In this game, I sided with South Carolina to win, but I could have easily gone either way. I don't know. Like, this is a game to me, it's tight. It's a really tight game. Vanderbilt last week, right, beats VTech on the road. They go into there, pick up the victory. Diego Pavia in his 5th year of eligibility, obviously after the whole, legal battles in the offseason, comes back. This is a team last year, right, in Vandy who gave a lot of teams trouble. They beat Alabama on their home turf. They get a really close game against Texas in Nashville. And now I think they're going to start haunting teams on the road. They played Louisiana State really tough last year on the road in Baton Rouge, right? They won the Birmingham Bowl against Haynes King in Georgia Tech. This is what Vandy's building now, right? Vandy, I'm not telling you they're a serious program now. They're an elite program, but they're a school that's going to start, over the years now. Nashville's a hot market. They're going to start to get more and more players coming on over to Nashville to play for them. Vandy this week gets South Carolina. Okay. South Carolina is not as good as you think they are. I'm not going to put anything into last week's game over South Carolina State. Lenora Sellers, guys, threw... Well, no, I will, actually. Lenora Sellers threw for 128 yards in that game. This guy's supposed to be an elite quarterback in college football? Going into the season, I thought he was. He's still very young. He's a sophomore. But this is the struggles we saw to Lenora Sellers at the beginning of last season. He struggled so much at the beginning of last year. Maybe it's just a beginning of the year thing. If you remember 2024 last year, that ODU game was horrible. Did not play well against Louisiana State. Did not play all that well against Kentucky in a big win, right? He was the reason they beat Kentucky. By the time the season ended, they should have been a playoff team, right? Mizzou, great win. Clemson, he played well. The Illinois victory, or loss in the Cheez-It Bowl, he played pretty well. Start of the year, he hasn't been great. Again, he's a great talent. I said it earlier in the video. He's a great talent. He's a great player. So far, though, hasn't been his year. On top of that, though, the team around him is not playing all that well either. They can't run the ball. They can't do anything offensively, really. It's just they played an inferior opponent last week in South Carolina State, and obviously they won, right? I don't know. I don't know why, by the way. I came across Luke Doty. Guys, does Luke Doty, one of the receivers on South Carolina who doesn't play that much, does he not look like Drinkus Duplessis? I just saw a picture of Luke Doty this week. I was like, that guy looks just like DDP. It's crazy. Anyways, I think Vandy's going to keep this game really close because Vandy's a defensive unit. They are. They give up 10 points in the first quarter last week to VTech, and they don't give up anything after. They give up 10 points after, right? And Diego Pavia is the definition of I don't want to call him a game manager. He's the definition of a winning quarterback. He does what his team needs him to do to win games, right? If you need him to scramble, you need him to, get you 10 yards on 3rd and 10, he'll do it through the air or on the ground. He finds ways. That's just what Diego Pavia does. The run game, Cedric Alexander, Malikan Young, you've got backs in this Vandy rotation. Again, this is a very competitive football game because that's truthfully just what Diego Pavia does for Vanderbilt. He gets them in competitive football games and keeps them in competitive football games. I am not sold on the Gamecocks right now at South Carolina. I'm not. Again, is Lenora Sellers going to figure it out? Probably. So far, though, going into week 1 against an SEC school, I don't know. The offense has not been good so far in 2 weeks, right? VTech game, yeah, they win it. They look so unimpressive while doing so. They scored 24 points and beat Virginia Tech. It's not a great game out of South Carolina. The South Carolina State game, it's an FCS school. I think Vandy keeps it close. I think their running game keeps it close. I think Diego Pavia keeps it close. Ultimately, I think South Carolina will barely edge them out, but by far the best bet of this specific game is plus 6.5 for Vanderbilt. I don't know how South Carolina is still ranked 11th in the country and Indiana's stuck at 22. Come on now. Give me Vanderbilt. Plus 6.5. Don't put the money line on either side. The best bet here, though, is definitely Vandy with the points. Next up, we go to Utah versus Wyoming. Utah is really good. Been saying this. I said this the minute Devin Dampier transferred here. If you want to, I don't know where it is. It's in one of the videos I made a long time ago. If it's on the Greedo Plays channel. Oh, this is the Greedo Plays channel. It's on the channel somewhere. When I was talking college basketball and we found out that Devin Dampier was transferring, and I was like, Utah is going to be a problem next season. I said it during the offseason in March or earlier, probably in February. Yeah, that's coming true, guys. It's coming true. Look at Utah. I get it. They played CP last week. Cal Poly. They win the game 63-9. Okay, that's fine. Look how well Devin Dampier is continuing to play. He's a monster. Devin Dampier, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in college football. Backup quarterback's pretty damn good too. Came in there, ran the hell out of the football for Utah, went 4 for 4 passing. So watch out for him. Definitely probably higher than Isaac Wilson on the depth chart. Isaac Wilson's probably gonna have to get up on out of here soon. Definitely next season, Isaac Wilson's done. You will see Isaac Wilson at Utah State next year. I'm so serious. He is the Bryson Barnes replacement, and he should be. That's a good spot for him, I believe. Or he'll go to Brigham Young. Honestly, maybe he should probably go to Brigham Young. I still think Isaac Wilson has the potential to be really good. Just this wasn't his spot. Utah's going to go into Wyoming and blow this team out. Wyoming 2-0 this season, win over Akron in week 1. They scored 10 points, won the game 10-0, and they beat Northern Iowa last week. Their starting quarterback, Caden Anderson. Anderson's all right. You know, he will throw for some big yards at times. He's just, a 6'4" quarterback. I think kind of raw still when I just watch Caden Anderson. It's just not a team that wows me offensively. They don't move the ball that well. They scored twice against Akron in a very low scoring affair. Akron's god awful, and we haven't gotten to Akron yet. Trust me, they're coming up in a couple games here. They're really bad too. So it's a game that Wyoming, they win a horrible 10-0 game. They beat Northern Iowa last week. It was not a bad FCS program, don't get me wrong. They're outmatched here, guys. They're so outmatched. It's Utah, right? This is a team that I believe is going to win the Big 12. This is a team that I believe is going to the postseason this year. It's going to be a very difficult game for Wyoming to keep up with, just because how Dampier plays, the dual threat ability at all times. It makes him legitimately the most dangerous quarterback I believe in college football, because just for the simple fact that he can do everything. He can throw, he can run, he can kill you with his legs, he can beat you in the air, and the running back core isn't bad, and the receiving core is pretty solid too. And oh, by the way, they have one of the best offensive lines in all of college football. They have one of the best defensive lines in college football, and one of the best defenses in college football. Look at their schedule right now and tell me who they lose to. Texas Tech next week is going to be a challenge. Utah will win that game, okay? Arizona State, not the big bad monster you think they are anymore, right? Sam Leavitt, I thought, disappointed. They will beat ASU at home. Utah is going undefeated. They will go into the college football playoffs as 12-0, 13-0 after winning the Big 12, and they will be the number 1 or number 2 seed. I firmly believe that. There's not going to be a lot of pure undefeated teams in college football. Utah will be one. Miami will be one. I hope Indiana's in there. Indiana's got to go to Penn State and win. I did say earlier in the year they were going to have to go to Oregon and win. I think that's going to have to be Penn State now. But Utah is that good. Devin Dampier is that solid. I just don't think Wyoming's going to be able to score that much, especially against a very good Utah defense. I am going with the Utah Utes to go on the road to Laramie, Wyoming, and beat up on the Wyoming Cowboys. They are minus 23.5 point favorites. Yes, again, Utah should be favored by that much. They are just that good. They will probably win the game by about 30-something. I don't know if it's going to be as big of a blowout as they pulled off last week against Cal Poly, but it will be a very non-competitive game early for the Utah Utes. Next up, we go to New Orleans, Louisiana for the Tulane Green Wave hosting the Duke Blue Devils. Time to see if Tulane is everything that I think they are. Okay, this is the week where it goes to the test. Last week, we picked Illinois to go to Durham and beat the Duke Blue Devils. Felt like a pretty good play at the time, and obviously it was, right? Illinois blows them out. Again, is Illinois as good as people think they are? We'll see. Indiana, forgot, need to stop talking about that. We'll get to that next week, okay? Anyways, Duke's going on the road to take on Tulane, coming off of a pretty bad loss and disappointing loss for Darian Mensah and the guys at home against the Fighting Illini. Tulane is 2-0 this season, beating a Big Ten team in their first game against the Northwestern Wildcats. Are they really a Big Ten school? Whatever. And then beating South Alabama on the road in Mobile, Alabama, 33-31. Okay, I know, again, that's a little too close for comfort. They were winning 33-17, though, in the fourth quarter. And South Alabama scored 2 touchdowns, the second of which came with 50 seconds to go. So, final score looks close, but the end result was really never in doubt. Now, Jake Retzlaff didn't have the best game, but they were just able to run the ball so effectively. They don't need Retzlaff to throw for 250 yards. He threw for actually half of that, 125 yards in the air. Zubri Mobley had 82 rushing yards. Javine Gordon had 80 rushing yards, and Jake Retzlaff had 64. They're moving the ball really effectively on the ground, and obviously that was just too much for South Alabama to handle. Tulane's at home. They should beat Duke. They really should. Darian Mensah, in my opinion, watching him and Malik Murphy from last season comparatively, I think he's a step down. I think Darian Mensah has the potential to be a better overall quarterback than Malik Murphy, just with more experience. As of now, though, I do believe Malik Murphy's better than Darian Mensah. I don't know if that's a hot take at all, just because, I don't know, pure arm talent athlete-wise, I like Malik Murphy more. I know he overthrows a lot of guys, and I've already talked about Oregon State today, but my goodness, I mean, the way that Malik Murphy's able to rip a football downfield and on the run, I don't know. I think the guy's really damn good. It's just I think he's on a horrible football team. Anyways, that's what you get for going to Oregon State. Duke, 1-1 this season. Mensah's throw for over 300 yards in both games. One's against Elon, though, and the other is against, obviously, their last opponent in a loss to Illinois. Tulane is solid. Up and down their roster, they are very good. And I think adding Retzlaff was the cherry or the cherry on top. Well, that is true. It's what put them over the top is what I'm going for, right? This was Mensah's team last year, and they were 9-4. They lose in the American Championship game to the Army Black Knights. Then they go to the Gasparilla Bowl and get blown out against Florida. Now, Mensah didn't play that game, but this is his revenge spot. You're on a better program. Technically, you're at an ACC school. You go from American Athletic to ACC, and now you got to go on the road to take on your old school. And I believe he's going to lose. I think Tulane's getting him here because, guys, for as good as Mensah is at times, they upgraded at quarterback. They did, yes. Retzlaff might not put up the numbers that Mensah's putting up right now. Don't forget, Mensah put up these same exact numbers that Retzlaff's putting up right now, but he just wouldn't get them the rushing yards. Retzlaff is a better overall fit for them because they don't need Retzlaff to do everything. Retzlaff just does enough for them to win football games, okay? And Retzlaff has been there. He's won big-time games. He won the Alamo Bowl last year. He's still a junior. He won a bunch of games last year as a sophomore at Brigham Young. He was expected to be their leader into potentially the postseason this year over in Provo. And sure, he has premarital sex. It's okay. Happens to the best of us. But here he is now at Tulane, having all the premarital sex he wants. No, that's not what I mean. Well, I guess maybe, No, he's very good for this program. I firmly believe that. Retzlaff wins, and I don't think Mensah's going to have I think he's going to have a rude awakening coming back to Tulane. Think about it, too. Tulane, in terms of, personnel, staff, they know who Darian Mensah is. They've seen Darian Mensah for a couple of years. Or for 1 year. Well, no, he redshirt here? No, last year was his first year. They've seen him for a year, though. They know who he is. He's got to go to their place. Yeah, I'm going with Tulane to win at home. I'm taking them to cover as well. -2.5, -135. Just play the money line. -135 for the Green Wave at home to beat the Duke Blue Devils. Next up, we move on to a matchup in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as we've got the Navy Midshipmen taking on the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. Going with Navy to win the football game, and I'm taking taking Tulsa to actually cover, though. Navy for me is good. I think Blake Horvath is obviously still very effective. I think going on the road is going to be a little bit difficult for them. I think they're going to win, don't get me wrong, right? I mean, Tulsa, it's an American League game, right? Obviously, first conference game for both teams. I'd expect a closer game, just with it being the first conference game for both squads. Do I think Navy's one of the better teams in the American? 100%, right? But you can be a better team in the American Conference and still have close games. That's my point with all this, right? Blake Horvath, Alex Teska, Eli Heidenreich, good players, right? They're playing both Horvath and Braxton Woodson. They're using Woodson a lot in the run game. At least that's what they did in week 1. They did not go to him in week 2 in their victory over UAB. That's fine, because Blake Horvath can do everything you need him to do, right? I mean, sure, for a lot of last year, there's a discussion just because they were both at military schools. Who's better, Blake Horvath, Bryson Daly? I think that was pretty obvious. It was Bryson Daly. Bryson Daly did get Heisman votes. He was in the top 10 for Heisman votes last year for an Army quarterback, which is just insane to me, and shout out to him for that. But Horvath, still back in college, still playing college football, and still very good for his senior season, right? He's the reason why Navy is a better program this season than Army, and the reason why they're going to definitely probably beat Army at the end of the season. 15.5 points for me, though, just feels like too much. Tulsa's coming off a competitive game at Las Cruces against the Aggies of New Mexico State. Kirk Francis, their quarterback, he can play. I'll say that. Did not have a good game last week at New Mexico State, but his team kept him in it. So I think Tulsa is able to play competitive enough game against Navy. Actually, I don't know who's Tulsa going to start. Are they going to start Baylor Hayes? Or are they going to start Francis? Because Hayes plays some, the freshman out of Brentwood, Tennessee. Played some last week. Threw a pick and a touchdown, 130 yards. I don't know who they start. Doesn't matter to me, honestly, because this is all dependent on the Tulsa defense, honestly, not their offense. I'm not coming into this game thinking, oh, Tulsa's going to outscore them. Tulsa's going to stay in this game because of their offensive output. No. It's just a matter of if they can stop that wing T flex bone. And I know, right, Navy throws the ball a lot more. Now Horvath had 168 yards last week, but obviously that's still a base of what Navy's going to do. But they have opened up the offense a lot, obviously, right? Horvath is a passing threat. He's 12 for 15 this season, throwing the ball at an 80% completion rate. Shout out to him. I'm still going to go with Tulsa to cover at home. Again, they are at home. Navy is 1-0 in American League play, but is the first conference game for Tulsa. So I think they're able to keep it close, and it's in Tulsa as well. For as good as Navy was last week, right? They only beat UAB by 14 points at home. The line's 15.5 this week. Is UAB better than Tulsa? I don't know. I really don't. That's probably not. UAB gave up 42 points at home and barely got by Alabama State. So yeah, who's to say Tulsa won't cover the points at home? I think we're fine here. Give me the Golden Hurricane. I am a little bit concerned about their offense, but the defense is going to win us this if we're going to get it. Give me the Tulsa Golden Hurricane at home, plus 15.5 points against the Navy Midshipmen. To our next game, we mentioned them, and here they are, the UAB Blazers. They are at home in Birmingham, Alabama. A late start time, 8:30 out there. They're starting this game. Why? Versus the Akron Zips. I'm sure there's going to be great attendance for this. Guys, okay, Akron might be the worst team in college football. I've said this like 20 times this video. East Michigan, Missouri, Marshall, UAss, Akron. Been waiting for them all video long. They've been outscored 78-10 so far. Sorry, 78-0 so far this season. Week 1, 10-0 loss to Wyoming. Horrible. Just a horrible game. One of the worst college football games I've ever watched. Week 2, at Nebraska, Dylan Raiola and the guys. Patrick Mahomes and Raiola. 68-0. I want to believe in Ben Finley. Unfortunately, I cannot anymore. Ben Finley's been around college football for so long. Brother of Ryan Finley. I don't know if Ryan Finley's still anywhere in the NFL. Was on the Cincinnati Bengals at one point in time. Was a backup to Joe Burrow, and Burrow was very young in the NFL. Ryan Finley is not playing NFL football anymore. Was waived by the Texans 4 years ago. Okay. Former NC State quarterback Ryan Finley's younger brother Ben Finley, in his sixth year of collegiate football. Started at NC State, then went to Cal for a year, now ended up at Akron. He was the DJ Irons replacement at Akron last year. Shout out to DJ Irons, tremendous MAC quarterback. I talked about him a lot last year. He's still playing football in Europe. That's awesome. Good for him. Talked about DJ Irons quite a bit last year, and one of my legitimately favorite moments ever watching college football in person was in Bloomington, Indiana, when DJ Irons almost won the game for Akron. That was a great night. It was a great night. Anyways, Ben Finley was the replacement. He's no DJ Irons, man. DJ Irons is starting. Sorry, quick sidetrack. He's starting in the Polish league. That's so fire. For a decent team over there too. That's awesome. I might need to watch some DJ Irons Poland tape in a little bit. I'm glad he's still playing. But I thought Ben Finley was gonna be a decent replacement. No one can really replace what Irons has done there, honestly. Like Irons, really good dual threat guy, get out the pocket, extend plays, single-handedly almost beat Indiana his senior season. And now I don't even know if Finley's gonna start this week. Because Finley has been so bad offensively. He has not been able to get anything going. And I don't know, they might be starting Michael Johnson now, I believe, out of Akron. I don't know if Michael Johnson is going to get the start or not. I don't know. Michael Johnson's a guy who played at Syracuse, will start at FAU, played at Syracuse, was a quarterback, I believe, at King's Academy, right? I'm fairly certain. King's Academy, California, I think he was. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure, random side note, I believe I had to watch film on Michael Johnson at one point in high school because I played King's Academy once upon a time, multiple times, but I believe I'm pretty sure that's who that was. I never played against Michael Johnson, who's backing up at Akron now, maybe starting, but I'm pretty sure when he was I watched his sophomore film at one point. I think he left Kings, if I'm not mistaken. That's why he was there with Noah Short. Kings Academy had dogs back then. Anyways, local high school from where I am. But anyways, in San Jose. But anyways, yeah, I don't know what to expect out of Akron. I know I got sidetracked by Ben Finley and Michael Johnson. UAB, I know they lost to Navy last week. Guys, Akron won't be able to score. I know Alabama State scored 42 points. Akron's offense is so atrociously horrible. Whether it be Johnson or Finley, they cannot get anything going offensively. UAB give up 42 points to Alabama State. We talked about that a little bit. You know, Alabama State has a pretty damn good quarterback. A really good quarterback. Anthony Body. That dude, the junior, he's going to be playing somewhere next year. Probably in the group of 5, maybe higher in his first senior season. Guys, that's the reason why Alabama State was competitive in that game. They had a quarterback, again, in Bodie, who threw for 300 yards and had 120 rushing yards. Akron doesn't have a guy like that. Ben Finley can't do that. Michael Johnson probably can't do that. I think, honestly, Michael Johnson probably gives them a better chance to win this football game. They don't have a quarterback who can take over the game and win them a football game just straight up, guys. I'm going the UAB Blazers to win and cover. Is UAB the most impressive team at this point? No. They are good enough to beat Akron, and they're good enough to cover against Akron. Games on the road in Birmingham. Weird 8:30 start time in Alabama. Akron has not scored in 2 weeks. I think they'll probably score at some point this week, but I think they're only going to score like 10. Do you think UAB can score 21 points? Oh, I know they can score 21 points. Give me the University of Alabama, Birmingham. I'm taking the Blazers to win the game at home. We're going to take Jalen Kitna and the guys. You know, Kitna's a pretty decent quarterback. Pretty decent. With Trent Dilfer as his head coach? Come on now. Give me the Blazers at home to go out there and beat the Akron Zips. First mention all year long now in our next game for the Air Force Falcons as they go on the road to Utah, to Logan, Utah, to take on the Utah State Aggies. Air Force is a favorite in this game. They are 3.5-point favorites against Utah. Little shocking, honestly, against Utah State. I know Utah State last week lost to Texas A&M 44-22. Again, I'm probably a bigger believer in Bryson Barnes than a lot of people are. I mean, I give Bryson Barnes a lot of credit for his days back at Utah. The Utes, obviously, where had to step in for Cam Rising, Cam Rising, who's 20-something years of age, and he went out there and did his thing for the University of Utah, right? Bryson Barnes, he's solid. He is a very solid quarterback, especially for the Mountain West, right? There is no, senior quarterback breathing down his neck anymore, and he's got to fight him off for the rest of the year. No. It is all purely Bryson Barnes now in 2025 for the Utah State Aggies. I know Utah State didn't play all that well last week. Bryson Barnes has been doing solid for the squad, man. He really has. They scored 22 points at College Station in front of 100,000 people at Kyle Field. I get it, Barnes only threw for 170 yards, but didn't really make too many bad mistakes last week. Air Force, you know what Air Force does, right? They are going to throw the ball more than they have in most years, but essentially still a run-first team, obviously. Their first game of the year, they run the ball. How many times did they run the ball in week 1? Oh my goodness. They run the ball 50 times in week 1? Yep, they ran the ball 51 times in week 1. Holy crap. 51 rushing attempts with 9 passing attempts. They had 60 total plays. They ran it 51 of 61 times. 51 of 60 times. Their starting quarterback, Josh Johnson, can throw, but pretty much all of their passing sets are, obviously it's Air Force wing tee, comes out of their runs, right? They build those pass looks and whatnot because of what they're going to do, faking to the outside and whatnot, faking the jet sweep, faking the toss, and then, okay, we got a rocket motion, and we're going to throw it in the flats with Josh Johnson here. Josh Johnson's an athlete. He's pretty solid. I think makes Air Force pretty decent. It's just, I don't know if they're able to go on the road and beat Utah State. I don't know. Air Force, to me, they're probably better than, no, they definitely are better than Army this season, I think. Not as good as Navy. I'm just comparing them to other military academies this season. Air Force can run the ball, right? I mean, last game you have 3 guys run the ball for 50 yards or more. Your quarterback in Josh Johnson runs the ball like 3 times. You have another quarterback in Liam Sarska who throws the ball twice for 47 yards. It's a weird offense to figure out, but they're going on the road to Utah State, who I think is a lot better than people expect them to, or I think just better than last year, honestly. Guys, week 1, we talk about Malachi Nelson. Well, Utah State in week 1, they beat Malachi Nelson. They go out there and beat Malachi Nelson in UTEP 28-16. It's a big victory for the Utah State Aggies, right? You get Air Force coming to your place, I think they take care of them. I think they do. I do need to see more of Air Force in all fairness because their one game is Bucknell, and I don't know how to treat one victory over the Patriot League zone Bucknell. It's not much I can get from that. Seeing them against Utah State will help me understand that offense a lot more and just understand what the personnel they have in 2025. Because I'll be honest, again, it's the military academy I'm least familiar with. I don't watch as much Air Force football as I do Navy and Army, and just compared to the other Mountain West schools, Air Force is not a team that I jump to immediately watch. But I do like Utah State quite a bit. I think it's a great opportunity to snag Utah State at plus money. Plus 140, plus 3.5 just feels too good to not take here. So give me the Utah State Aggies to win the game at home against the Air Force Falcons. Plus 140 and plus 3.5. Take either or. I like Utah State at home, probably with the points. Next up, we move to Berkeley, California, as we've got the California Golden Bears hosting the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Cal is a 2.5-point underdog at home, and you know what? I'm going with the Cal Bears. Yes, I'm taking California to win this football game. I'm going to. Cal has looked good so far, and I know one game's against Oregon State and one game's against Texas Southern. It's an FCS school, and that's horrible Oregon State. I get that. Their quarterback so far, I don't want to keep butchering his name, Jaron Kiwe Sagapulete, has been really good. 5-star quarterback, obviously, wants to start year one, transfers to Cal because they don't have a starting quarterback. Yeah, he's been pretty solid. You lose Jay Knott, you lose Thomas, your 2-star running backs last season. Kendrick Raphael has been pretty decent so far, 27 carries for 170 yards for the junior out of Naples, Florida, right? NC State transfer, played some last year. He is the guy at California. I kind of like what the woke agenda has got going this year. Obviously, that's their little thing on Twitter. It's hilarious. I guess it's woke versus woke this year, or this game with Minnesota. Actually, I don't know how. I'm not going to get into a political discussion. I don't know how woke the University of Minnesota is. Again, just it's a joke with Cal Berkeley that they're the woke agenda. Anyways, Minnesota so far this year, a win over Buffalo in a very close game, but we do know how good Buffalo is, just maybe too close for comfort. And then a Northwestern State victory where they win 66-0. They don't really need to throw the ball at Drake Lindsey because they dominate on the ground against the Northwestern State Demons. They win it against 66-0. You get a Big Ten school, though, coming in to the ACC zone. Yes, the Atlantic Coast Conference's California. I actually think Cal's going to win the football game. I think so, right? I think Jaron Kiwe has been really good so far this year. He's been very impressive. Looked really good in the Oregon State game. Moved the ball really effectively against them. I get it, Oregon State's not an elite team, but just compare how Jaron Kiwe plays compared to E.J. Warner. I get it, is E.J. Warner elite? No, he's just a game manager. That's all he does. He's just there to hand the ball off and, hopefully make some plays and take off if needed. Jaron is more of just, a legitimate, product at quarterback as a freshman too. I mean, that's a big deal. He's passed every test so far. And yes, Minnesota's defense is really solid, so here's another test. But I also do worry about the Minnesota offense a little bit. I know they scored 66 points, but I get a little bit concerned because Buffalo lost a lot. Last year, Buffalo had a really good defense in the MAC, right? For the MAC's standards. They had 3 really good linebackers. If I'm not mistaken, 2 of them graduated because they were seniors. The other one transferred out. They lose a couple of their corners in their secondary, and you're still held at 23 points against the Buffalo Bulls? Yeah, they held them defensively, which is great, right? Because Buffalo has such an explosive offense, and they're difficult to maintain. I get that. But you're only scoring 23 points against the Bulls? I don't know. Cal's defense, we'll see, yet to be seen, like in terms of a tough opponent. Well, no, they hold Malik Murphy to 15 points. Yeah, no, I'm just talking myself even further into the woke agenda here. I'm taking California. Give me Gavin Newsom. Give me Kamala Harris. All right? I'm taking the California Golden Bears and Berkeley. Hell yeah. Crazy campus if you've ever been there. Not in terms of like, oh, it's so nice. It's just like, it's insane what goes on in that campus. Like, this is going to sound weird. Go to Cal Berkeley at 2 o'clock in the morning and see everybody still studying in the library. It's insane. I couldn't imagine going to Berkeley, man. I couldn't imagine doing it. Taking the California Golden Bears, though. Give me the woke agenda to win at home. Drake Lindsey's been all right, but here we go. You get an ACC defense that's played pretty well so far that shut down Malik Murphy. I don't think Drake Lindsey's able to see more success than Murphy and Oregon State had. So I'm going to go with California at plus money, plus 120 and plus 2.5 for the California Golden Bears at home against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. On now to our next game. Let's go to Tempe, Arizona, as we've got the Arizona State Sun Devils hosting the Texas State Bobcats. On TNT, late night spot at 7:30, I'm going to go with Texas State to cover. Texas State scores points. Do they play defense? No. But Arizona State's offense has been really bad through 2 weeks. I thought it was going to fix itself last week with Sam Levitt. It did not. The offense did not fix itself. Sure, they came back from behind. They almost won that football game until, shout out to Blake Shapen, huge throw at the end of the game to win it from Mississippi State. My goodness, that was bad for Arizona State. They could not throw the ball. Sam Leavitt, 10 for 22 passing, 25 rushing yards. Raleek Brown and Kanye Udo are your 2 running backs who both go over 100 yards. And that's the reason that you were in that game and ended up taking the lead. But the fact that they couldn't punch the ball in the fourth quarter at the goal line and you have to settle for an 18-yard field goal, come on. I didn't think, okay, all full transparency, I didn't think even kicking that 18-yard field goal, I wasn't like with a minute left, like, oh, Mississippi State's going to go down and score. I was like, oh, maybe they get a field goal, but probably not. I didn't think Blake Shapen was going to win the game for him, but he did. Mississippi State wins. They take down number 12, Arizona State. They storm the field, and the Bulldogs are kind of back in business. They'll probably end up winning 5 games all year long, maybe 4. Maybe they don't even win a game in the SEC this year. But good for Mississippi State. They pick up the victory. Should we be concerned about Sam Leavitt? He is still only a sophomore, but through 2 games, Sam Leavitt's been bad. I gave them a pass in week 1. It's like, oh, Leavitt didn't look great. They didn't play very good against Northern Arizona. He's from the mean streets of Westland, Oregon. He'll be fine. Legitimately, he's from the mean streets of Westland, Oregon. I was like, oh, he'll be fine. It's over 82 yards in an SEC environment. You know who steps up, I believe? Brad Jackson. Guys, I think Brad Jackson is really good. First year as a starting quarterback in college football. He's a freshman. 2 games, 2-0. 43 points at UTSA. 52 points in week 1 against Eastern Michigan. 43 points on the road at UTSA with 280 yards. I'm going to take that. That's a good game. Able to run the ball a little bit as well. For a redshirt freshman quarterback starting, you are going to take those numbers. You absolutely will. They can run the ball too. Lincoln Parr, senior out of Germantown, Tennessee. So far, 12 carries, 167 yards against EMU, 21 carries, 71 yards, touchdowns in both those games against UTSA and Eastern Michigan. Guys, I like Texas State quite a bit. And if Arizona State continues to struggle offensively, which I think they're going to, they can't throw the ball right now. And I know Texas State gives up a lot of points. They can score and they can respond too. I know going into Tempe is one of the most difficult things you can do in college football. I always say that's where ranked teams go to die. Not a ranked team in Texas State, but potentially the best team in the Sun Belt this season. If you're Texas State, legitimately you have to look at this game as, if we win out, because they probably will in the Sun Belt. I think they're going to win it. They'll win the Sun Belt West, and they'll probably win the entire thing in that conference. All we need is South Florida to lose to Miami, and we're going to the playoffs this season. That's the stakes, legitimately. This is a playoff game for Texas State. For Arizona State, this is, well, we're not very good. We just lost to Mississippi State, and now we got to play a non-con game before starting Big 12 play. We don't really care, because as long as we win the Big 12, we're still going to get in the tournament. We're still going to get in the playoffs. This game doesn't mean anything to us. We can even lose this game and still get in the playoffs at 10-2. This is everything for Texas State. This is their playoff game. If they win this and they win out, they're going to the postseason. I'm taking the Texas State Bobcats. I believe in the redshirt freshman quarterback for Texas State in Brad Jackson. I do believe he's that good, and I'm taking the Bobcats to walk into Tempe and cover, potentially win. Do not be surprised when Texas State almost wins this football game. They might do it, guys. Long lineage of great quarterbacks at Texas State. Jordan McLeod, TJ Finley. They've always had guys. Brad Jackson's up next. Okay? I love this play. 14.5 points is too many. It's too many for Texas State. The Bobcats cover on the road. Next up, our final game of the week, Stanford and Boston College. Oh, God. Stanford's so horrible, man. Like, another one of these schools. One of the worst teams in college football, the Stanford Cardinal. I might go to this game just because I want to see how empty the stadium's going to be for their first home game of the year. I might go and just sit up at the very top and just soak it all in and leave at halftime probably. Because I can get in this building for $4. Probably can get in for free. Because Stanford might pay me to go to the game. You know, I don't got that much motion on here, but they might pay me to go. Honestly, they might. Maybe I'll write an email. I'm joking. Stanford's so horrible. Guys, they can't start Ben Gulbranson anymore. They can't. This guy is the worst starting quarterback in the Power 4. By far the worst starting quarterback in the ACC, worst quarterback in the Power 4. Why do we lure this guy out of retirement? Guys, Elijah Brown can't be that bad, can he? There's no way. There's no way Elijah Brown's worse than Ben Gulbranson. No shot. Look at the balls he throws against BYU, the interceptions he throws. 109 yards against Hawaii, 142 yards against Brigham Young. He's horrible. No way Elijah Brown's not as good as this guy. 50% completion rate, 32 for 62 passing. You can't run the ball. You can't throw the ball. What can you do? You've got a good tight end, a really good tight end. And Sam Roush, he's got 4 catches for 8 yards. This is a joke. This is a joke from Stanford. Despicable. Boston College plays a very good game last week at East Lansing. They lose. That's fine. This team's pretty solid. They are. 10.5 points is not enough, dude. Boston College will blow this team out. They scored 40 points in double overtime against Michigan State. Could not get the 2-point conversion in double overtime. They don't win. That's fine. Their quarterback, Dylan, this dude's a sophomore. He's pretty solid. You know, I mean, Boston College has rotated quarterbacks. He's an Alabama transfer. There's a reason he was at Alabama in the first place, right? You had Castellanos. You had Grayson James. Now you get Dylan Lonergan. This dude's pretty solid. Everything I've seen, watch obviously the Sparty game. Yeah, he's legit. And now you start ACC play against the worst team in the ACC in front of nobody. Dominance. BYU, who I think is going to struggle a little bit offensively this year, right? With Bear Bachmer and obviously, you know, his brother Tiger Bachmer on the same team. It's different because obviously they had to go to Bachmer, you know, all of a sudden because of Retzlaff having premarital sex. Stanford loses 27-3. They kick a field goal in the fourth quarter just to make themselves feel better about themselves, man. They kicked a field goal to make it a 33-24 game. They still didn't even cover the spread. Good thing we had BYU. Guys, they're so bad. They're so bad. Boston College scored 40 points on Michigan State. They're going to score a 40-plus against Stanford, and Stanford's not scoring 30 points. Max, they're scoring 20, okay? 2 games this season, they scored 3 points against Brigham Young, and they scored 20 points against Hawaii. The max they score against Boston College on their own home field, home stadium, in front of 2,000 people, will be 20 points, okay? Trust me, believe you me, the Boston College Eagles will walk into Stanford coming off of that great performance at East Lansing, Michigan, and they will decimate the Stanford Cardinal. It's going to be Boston College minus 10.5. Folks, thank you all for watching our full Week 3 college football predictions. My goodness, another long video, probably just as long as last week's at 3.5 hours. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Again, all I ask for you guys, hit that subscribe button down below and leave a like. I want to thank you guys for getting this far in the video every single week. Thank you for getting this far. I know these videos are very long, but I appreciate you guys watching. So thank y'all for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy. Best bets coming out later in the week. Same thing next week. Week 4 predictions. We will be back for more NFL predictions as well tomorrow, too. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba, forever.